We'll now reconvene in a regular session. Ms. Troublefield, please take roll.
Mrs. Briggs? Here. Mr. Cathell?
Here.
Mrs. Klein? Here. Mr. Neal?
Here.
Dr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Peden?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Ms. Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. West Warner? Mrs. Wright? Here.
Okay, we do have 9 members here. We have a quorum. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda for April 27th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. Would everyone please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? We will have the color guard by the Sussex Central High School color guard.
Oh. Oh. Please turn. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One. Oh. Out. Out. On. Oh.
Yeah, everybody be seated, please. .04 student government.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. I do believe we have a representative from Indian River High School, Dasani Coleman. Dasani, are you here? Welcome.
Hello, my name is Dasani Coleman. I'm a senior at Indian River High School. Today, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the progress our school has made this year, as well as highlight some of the accomplishments and milestones our students are experiencing. Since the beginning of the school year, several changes have been implemented to improve both safety and our overall learning environment. The updated cell phone policy has helped to minimize distractions in the classroom, allowing students to stay more focused and engaged in their work. In addition, the introduction of metal detectors has strengthened the safety measures within our school. While these changes have required adjustments at first, we have ultimately been able to create a more secure and productive environment where students can better focus on their education. Our school community has been thriving outside of the classroom, especially in our athletics. Our spring sports team have shown incredible dedication and success. The girls soccer team is currently ranked first in the state with an outstanding record of 9-0. Boys lacrosse is performing strongly at 7-3. Girls lacrosse holds a record at 6-3. And the girls tennis team is also doing well at 5-3. These accomplishments reflect not only athletic talent, but also teamwork and dedication. I believe our sports this year have performed greatly and have been able to represent Indian River sports in a very positive way. Recently, our school hosted a prom promise event where the fire department performed a very powerful but emotional play highlighting the importance of not drinking and driving on prom night. While the performance was difficult to watch at times, it was incredibly realistic and impactful. It served as an important reminder to all students about real-life consequences of their choices and encouraged everyone to prioritize safety during this exciting time. As a senior, this was my first prom promise, and I think it was very important. I think that we should continue to do this event for our upcoming seniors and juniors. With that being said, prom is approaching on May 2nd, so there is a strong sense of excitement throughout the senior and junior class. Students are looking forward to celebrating together and creating lasting memories. As the school year begins to come to a close, we are also eagerly anticipating graduation on June 2nd. This is a meaningful milestone for the class of 2026, representing years of hard work and growth. We are all excited to celebrate their achievements and watch them take their next steps towards their future. Overall, I believe this year has been one of growth, progress, and a success for our school community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 3.05 and 3.06. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular and executive session minutes for the March 23rd, 2026 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 4.01, public session. School board welcomes the opportunity to hear from the public during our public comment session at the beginning of each and end of each public session. Members of the public speaking as individuals or as a member who represent an organization will be allotted up to 3 minutes. As per board policy BDDH, in order to comply with the First Amendment, the board will not entertain distracted public comment in favor of or against a staff member. If a speaker makes defamatory statements or invades the privacy rights of a student or employee, speakers responsible for such statements and may be held liable. We thank you in advance for adhering to this policy when sharing public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. First up, Richard, I believe it's Arner.
For giving me a few minutes. As Elizabeth Taylor once said to each of her 8 husbands, don't worry, I won't keep you long. I reside at 25004 Aspen Circle in Millsboro. I've lived in Millsboro since the year 2021. Before moving to Alderleaf, I lived at Radish Farms. We have an ongoing safety issue. I live at the entrance to Alderleaf Meadows off of Old Landing Road. We have been concerned, and I've contacted Officer Brooks. Was it Brooks? Rogers, sorry. Officer Rogers of the Millsboro Police Department. And Old Landing Road is a dangerous road. And he gave me information on a study that was conducted 2 summers ago. And in the study of 10,052 cars that are going on that road in a 10-day period, 51% of those automobiles are traveling over 41 miles an hour. We have a bus stop at the entrance of our neighborhood recently. There has been yellow lines painted. There's no stopping, parking, stopping, standing, and so forth. We have children and we have parents that are complying, at least initially, but they won't be able to supervise them as they're when they enter and exit on Old Landing Road. There was a very serious accident outside our home on the Old Landing Road side a few days ago. We believe it's in the best interest, and we would like the school board to consider moving the bus stop from that where it is right now at the entrance to Alderleaf. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Arner. Thank you.
issues with the children running in and out of the common grounds, which is right next to our house. This morning throwing a football right next to my house. I've had a kid slam into my house, wipe out in front of my house, and it's become a playground. And I see that football and I'm thinking, there's two boys having fun, right? They run out in that road, they're done. I mean, unfortunately, I saw a school bus today going at least 50 miles an hour down that road. And so we're working with the police department, what they can do to keep it safe. But I don't believe it's safe for the children. It's also a disturbance in our part of the neighborhood as older adults. There's no other children on that side whatsoever. And so they couldn't park where the signs were, so they parked in front of the fire plug this morning. So that's dangerous if we have a medical emergency in the community, as well as dangerous to the children. Thank you.
Thank you both for speaking.
Mr. and Mrs. Arner, could you leave, I didn't get your cell phone number here. If you could leave a number, Mrs. Dorman is in the back. If you could just give that to her. So if we do need to get in touch with you, we can. Thanks.
Okay, new business, 5.01, school choice applications, 2025-26, school year for April of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. As we jump into new business, I do want to share with the board and with those in attendance or viewing online, we had an issue with our board document platform today. It was not able to be accessed, certainly externally and by our board members. I want to thank Mr. Mann from our IT department for quickly creating a Google Doc and attaching the documents that the board needs this evening, as well as the ability to display tonight for those that are attending. So thank you, Mr. Mann, for that quick turnaround. We are in contact with that organization in hopes that that platform is up and running as quickly as possible. So board members, on your laptops this evening, you do have the agenda with the links that will drive you to the agenda items if there is an attachment. Okay, first up, we have school choice, and our first school choice is for the current school year 25-26. As is typically the case from month to month during the current school year, we do have a handful, 6 to be exact, of returning students. That's priority 1. Those are students that are already in a school and have moved out for a variety of reasons and wish to remain at their school. So again, those are priority 1s. I do ask for consideration of those this evening.
Dr. Owens, I just have a question, and I could be wrong. I understand the schools have been reassessed, and I understand the cap U. But have we recently changed the formula on the percentage to situations, Sebbyville Middle and Indian River High School? I remember recently both of those were over 100%. Now they're both showing in the 80s%. I don't know if we're using a different figure.
So I don't know if a different figure, I'm looking at the 25-26 right now. And I'm going to go to Selbyville Middle. And it is showing current enrollment as 746. The total, which is the cap T, which is 860. And the utilization would be the 85%. So at 731, they would be at their 85%. And they are currently at 746, so they're at 87%, which comes more into play with our next look for the following school year. So this school year is just returning students. And I know that's not your question. I believe these numbers are all accurate with current enrollment. I can double check that formula, which would be just the sheer size of that building. What is the cap total, the total cap T? The utilization is just derived from that. It's 85% of that total. So
And
we can,
I do understand that. I just thought they were both over 100% not too long ago, but I may be mistaken.
no, it was last year. I can double check that.
Okay.
And I know for the the 26-27 school year, they're projecting as well with students rolling out and coming in. So I don't know if they had a bubble, but I can certainly check.
Sure. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion that we approve the 2025-26 April
So moved.
school choice.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion to second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 5.02, school choice application 26-27.
So this is for the upcoming school year. And again, as we discussed, the bulk of these were reviewed a couple months ago. There are some remaining. Typically, these are kindergarten students as the schools understand the needs of their school within current enrollment in kindergarten. However, we do have a sixth grade student at Sussex Central Middle, which is under the 85% can accept. We do have a priority one. That's a returning student, again, Selbyville Middle School. They are over the 85 with 87% with a priority one. Typically, those 1 through 5 priorities we have allowed to come in historically here in the district. And then finally, you have a handful at Southern Delaware School of the Arts. These are students that may have just now accepted as they've gotten their letters back. But these are all available spaces at Southern Delaware School of the Arts. So it's a total of 7 for consideration this evening for next school year.
Dr. Owens, just a question. I see that some schools have, I guess it's a cap T in the 60%. So at what point, like, what's the lowest cap T that we would expect to see or want to see?
That's tough. So it's actually the cap T, which is the total. Cap T is the total that the school can hold. So I'm thinking you're thinking more of what is our lowest population within a school? Is that your question?
So maybe cap T isn't, that's what the facility can hold, but
That's
not.
correct.
So that may not be the most relevant number to us. It might be more relevant, like, well, how many teachers there are. That would be a better expression of utilization of the school.
Well, this cap U is used for, we have to submit a capacity report. So it's really important for that report that we give to the Department of Ed, but also school choice. I think the cap U is a better indicator of where, if and when you're over that 85%. So the cap U is again, just derived from, is the 85% of that cap T number. And once we get over that, we can see school choice of anyone that's beyond that priority 1 through 5. The teachers are driven, the teacher capacity is driven by the amount of students in the building and the needs of those students. So once, as Mr. Peden acknowledged, once we start getting over into East Millsboro, 109% capacity, Georgetown Elementary, 108, 104 at North, some of our much higher capacities, Sussex Central before the move to the new building, I think we were in the 125s, 130 range. That's where we have real concerns about space for staff. Staff are on carts. We're having to double up in rooms. We are segmenting off office space to be pull-out space, those types of things. Not sure if I'm answering your question.
I was just looking, like, I get overcapacity, huge problem, understand it, but I was just looking at undercapacity too, if we look at that. But I guess it doesn't matter if the school is just large, that, has physical capacity. But I didn't know if we had like teacher to student underutilization.
No, that would be, that's driven through the unit count. So that's based on the number of students in. So even if you're at 50% capacity in a building, we are still earning the students, the staff that we're required to earn to teach that 50% of those, that population.
One day I'm going to understand this chart.
It's tough.
Not yet.
It's tough.
Do I have any other discussion on 5.02? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the school choice applications for the 26-27 school year.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 5.03, Bibby High School Based Health Center data snapshot.
Thank you. As we approved recently, Dr. Chafin, you can come on up. We are moving forward with our wellness centers, and BB has been a good partner with us. And the board had asked for some information, some data as it relates to the students visiting those wellness centers. So thank you, Dr. Chafin. I know you've worked on getting us this data. And again, board members, within your document, your Google Doc tonight, there are slides and there's also data. And I believe we have a handout here if you don't have access to that. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Chafin. Thank you for being with us and providing the information. And the board members may have some questions after you're done.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Owens. I appreciate it. And thank you for having us back. So as you know, we have two school-based health centers currently in the Indian River School District, which are Indian River High School and Sussex Central High School. So currently, when we talked before, and I wanted to say thank you for the board approving again our consents, so we were able to continue business as usual. And we were awarded the contracts for the two high schools again this year. It's usually a 5-year process, but this time it was 10 years because COVID was in the middle of that. So it can be 5 to 10 years, but typically it's 5 years that we have to reapply to the Department of Public Health. So thank you for you. We would not have gotten those contracts again if you hadn't made that approval. So we appreciate it. So my first slide here is, oh, it's not up, but that's okay. You can also look at your handout. So Indian River High School Wellness Center has, well, Indian River High School itself has 1,072 students. And the Wellness Center between July 2025 and March 2026 had 1,137 visits. Average visits per month are 157, and we have 3 clinicians. Just as a reminder, we have a registered dietitian that comes 1 day a week, and then we have a full-time nurse practitioner and a full-time licensed therapist. So we have roughly about 56% of the student body is registered with the Wellness Center at Indian River High School, which we'd love to have more consents done, but we're always working on that. So roughly about half, about 600 students. And we were able to add 146 new patients during that time period. Our behavioral health visits were 569 in that time period. We did 51 depression screenings and 42 risk assessments. For physical health, 88 sports physicals were achieved and 34 administrative physicals, which are just other kinds of physicals. About 70 immunizations occurred. Our peak month is October, and that was 205 visits. And our lowest month was January, 115, which the holidays are in there, right? Also for reproductive and sexual health, there were 130 contraception appointments for both initiation and management. There were 22 pregnancy tests and 28 STI or sexually transmitted disease testing. For nutrition, there were 205 BMIs assessed during visits. 73 nutritional counseling sessions occurred. And so for our nurse practitioner, there were 528 visits total. Mental health was 569 and dietitian was 73, just as a recap. Just some school activities that the Indian River High School Wellness Center took part in. Currently, there is an application for a Highmark grant to help subsidize some of our mental health programming. There's not a lot of money for things that are needed for mental health groups that we run. We are partnering with Alateen and School Counselor Program to provide regular counseling and meetings related to drug and alcohol use in families. Partner with community organizations like the Delaware Council on Problem Gambling, Turning Point at People's Place to bring educational resources into classroom and lunchroom discussions. And we work closely with the athletic trainer and school nurses as well as school counselors, but the athletic trainer to ensure sports and school entry physicals are completed in a timely manner and students' vaccinations are up to date. And also we have been doing some telehealth with behavioral health during school break times to try to keep up with some of those students so they're not just dropped. So just moving on to Sussex Central High School. Not that you need me to read all these things to you, you have them in front of you, but SCHS has 1,952 students in it. And I'm not telling you to advance the slide, sorry. Yeah, but you're good. That's the slide I'm on. The total visits that we had in the Wellness Center at Sussex Central High School, significantly more students than in Indian River High School. We had 1,198 visits. We averaged about 130 visits a month. And new students were registered during the period of July 2025, March 2026, 277. There we have 60% of the student body as members, so we're doing a little bit better there. And new patients, we've added 174 during that time period. Behavioral health, we've had 456 visits, 51 depression screenings, and 119 risk assessments. We have the same level of staff at each one also, but there's higher usage, of course, at Sussex Central. Did 184 school physicals and 101 immunizations. And our peak month is October there, also 184 visits, and January was our lowest month at 58. And then the next slide, thank you. For reproductive and sexual health, contraception management initiation, there were 100 visits, 62 pregnancy tests, and 75 STI screenings. For nutrition, 234 students were assessed for BMI, 94 students were seen for nutritional counseling, and our NP PA there saw 717 visits. Our behavioral health was, as I said, 452, and dietitian was 86. Next slide, please. Sussex Central High School Wellness Center has been involved in many activities. Most recently was today, where there's a prom promise activities happening. And I did get pictures for it, but didn't get to give them to you yet. But they had a DUI simulator that came, and I think 100 students participated in that today during lunch and I think their advisory period. We're planning a run for color, and we're trying to co-sponsor that with school, and the school's been very helpful. We're looking to do that in October 26th. So a nice community event that we would be hosting for kids and families. We've been working on some small grants to help fund that. We are currently doing lunch and learns for awareness months in mental health and nutritional health. We did a community family night information table. We are also doing Alateen there weekly, and also telehealth, behavioral health during school break times. So that's all of our numbers. And there are a couple of other slides on impact, but we've also included that in your handouts. But some of the impact we have been able to compare to the state numbers that are occurring within school-based healthcare. And we are ahead in a lot of our services and numbers that we're doing. So you'll be able to see that in your handout. And I won't read this. I'll save everybody here to not have to listen to me do that. So the first slide here is Indian River High School. And then the next slide is Sussex Central High School. So that just touts how we're doing what we say we're going to do. And then the last slide is just a little bit of an update on the RFPs, request for proposal through the Rural Health Transformation Project. So we did write for 3 middle school wellness centers. We won't know, we were supposed to learn that whether we got them for Friday, but it didn't happen. So I think it's probably going to take about another month. There is some competition, so there have been some other applications, and we'll just kind of see what happens there. So we're hoping that between some of the hospitals in your area that we'll be able to help out your middle schools in the future. So as far as how we're going to do that, that all remains to be seen, space, that sort of thing. So the first phase for us, if we're awarded the contract, that we would start with phase 1 with Sussex Central, and there's already space there. And then the model that we're looking at is also bringing in a psychiatric nurse practitioner as well. And that we would be rotating our nurse practitioners through the however many middle schools we might get. So hopefully that will work out, and thank you for your time. Any questions?
Yeah, sure. So it seems like you're a pretty busy clinic, seeing 6 to 7 students a day.
Mhm.
My question is, you mentioned you work with the school nurses.
Mhm.
So what do our school nurses do that's separate from these clinics?
So we have nurse practitioners or PAs, so they're able to prescribe medications, treat disease in a different way than a school nurse can. So a school nurse, say, for example, might refer a student that she or he might have strep. And then we can do a strep test because we have just different capabilities because of being tied to public health and the
So I
hospital.
guess we need both.
Yes.
Our school nurses separate and then make referrals to the clinic.
Mhm.
Okay. And
So
then
we're-
speaking of referrals, do you keep track of, do you make any referrals outside? Do you
We-
refer to,
Yes, we do. Are we keeping track of that? Not right now, but we're actually working statewide too in the Delaware School-Based Health Alliance to try to be able to work with the new electronic medical records that, well, not new, the entire state, every hospital is all going to be on the same type of electronic medical record. So Nemours has already done some great work with that and been able to figure out how to get Infinite Campus to talk to Epic, which is what the electronic medical record is. Christiana is due to add that so that they're the last hospital system in Delaware. And now all of us will be on Epic, which should help everyone as a patient as well, that you will be able to have a chart, that's centralized. So our hope is to be able to track referrals as time goes with that and being able to streamline the referral process from school counselors, administration, and school nurses to us, and then where we connect students to either primary care or specialty care.
and then the students who are under 17, are the parents routinely informed or are they not when they go to the clinic?
So no, unless there's need. It depends on what the service is as well, but we really encourage students to talk to their parents. And we always say that children don't live in a vacuum. Some kids prefer not to tell their parents certain things, and the law about contraception and, sexually transmitted diseases in Delaware is that you can get treated without your parent or guardian knowing. But we really make effort to try to include parents in that and in mental health
So
treatment.
no automatic notification
Mm-mm.
to a student's parent when they come to seek
No.
medical services?
Not at this time, but if it's a medical service where a student needs treatment or medication, aside from reproductive care, then they're notified. So if a student has strep, then a parent's called. If somebody's worried about a concussion or whatever.
Okay, so there is a notification to the parents?
Yes,
If-
just not automatically necessarily. It depends kind of what happens.
But outside of anything reproductive?
Yes. Yeah, and especially if there's connection. And we've also BB has established a relationship with Nemours to try to help a specialty pipeline. We might be working to do some telehealth within the wellness centers where we can help students down here be able to be linked up with, say, like an eating disorder clinic where they have a multidisciplinary team, and that our nurse practitioner can do vitals, lay their eyes on a student, and help them be a part of those multidisciplinary team in Nemours. So that's something that's in the future too. So
Thank you for providing all this information.
thank you. And those are good questions. So we like parents to know that we really do try to involve them. Thank you. Any other questions? Perfect. Thank you so much. Good to see you all again. And we'll look forward to doing it again next year. Take care.
Okay, moving next, it's 5.04, 2025-26 Teacher of the Year, Ms. Howard.
Good evening, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak on behalf of teachers across our district. Since our last meeting, I shared a short survey and connected with other building teachers of the year to help guide what I would bring forward tonight. My goal continues to be representing teacher voice as accurately and honestly as possible. The feedback reflects both the strength of our schools and the areas where support is still needed. I want to begin with the positives. Across the district, teachers continue to show an incredible level of dedication to their students. There is strong collaboration within teams, especially through PLCs, where teachers are working together to improve instruction and strengthen Tier 1 teaching. At the middle school level, co-teaching classrooms were highlighted as working effectively. Across buildings, teachers shared examples of meaningful student engagement, including hands-on learning opportunities, real-world experiences like internships, and a strong focus on improving instruction through evidence-based practices like the science of reading. Building level leadership also continues to be a bright spot. Many teachers shared that they feel supported, respected, and valued by their administrators with meaningful PLC time and efficient purpose meetings, helping them focus on instruction. These are important strengths, and they matter. At the same time, the feedback across staff shows clear and consistent areas of concern. One of the most urgent themes is student behavior and discipline. Teachers are asking for greater consistency in how discipline is implemented across schools. There are concerns about the discipline matrix, follow through on consequences, and the impact of inconsistent enforcement on both instruction and school climate. Questions were also raised about systems like student support suites and how they impact student access to instruction. Workload and staffing continue to be another major concern. Teachers described feeling stretched thin, often balancing multiple roles. This includes concerns about staffing shortages, increased class sizes in certain areas, and the demands placed on teachers serving in dual roles. There are also immediate concerns related to staffing and retention. The recent decrease in summer school pay is already impacting staffing levels, raising concerns about how we will meet student needs, particularly for students requiring specialized services. Teaching and learning conditions were also a priority area. Teachers are committed to improving instruction, but they are asking for clearer guidance and consistency around expectations, particularly in areas such as accommodations and interventions. Communication and transparency also remain key themes. Staff are asking for clearer and more consistent communication, particularly around decisions that directly impact classrooms. Understanding the reasoning behind decisions continues to be an important part of building trust. And finally, morale and sustainability. Teachers continue to have strong pride in their students and their colleagues. That has not changed. But there is a growing concern about sustainability as workload, behavior challenges, and staffing pressures continue to increase. I share all of this not as criticism, but as an opportunity to align our next steps. Teachers are not asking for the work to be easier. They're asking for consistency, clarity, and support. As we move forward, I would appreciate clarity on a few points. How will discipline expectations, including the discipline matrix, be implemented consistently across schools? What specific supports are being considered for teachers serving in dual roles? How is the district evaluating systems like student support suites and their impact on instructional time? What steps are being taken to address staffing concerns, including summer school staffing? How will the district provide clear guidance around accommodations and instructional expectations? And what systems will be put in place to improve transparency so staff understand decisions and can see how the feedback they provide is being used? And overall, how will progress in these areas be measured and shared with staff over time? I remain committed to continuing to gather staff input, sharing both the positives and the challenges, and supporting this work in any way that is helpful. Thank you for your time and for your continued commitment to our schools.
Ms. Howard,
Yes,
would it be possible for that to be emailed to the Board of Education members?
sure thing.
Would have really appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. 5.05, donation to the state of Derek Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. We had a substantial donation to North Georgetown Elementary, and I've asked Principal Dietrich to share information regarding that with us this evening. Mr. Dietrich, welcome.
Sir, good evening, good evening. Here on behalf of North Georgetown Elementary School, requesting the board's approval for us to accept a very generous donation from the estate of Mr. Reed. We were in touch, our financial secretary was in touch with the Register of Wills to make sure all the paperwork was completed thoroughly and properly. And then she and I also spoke with the daughter, who is the trustee of his estate, just to ensure that this was the intention of her father and that this aligned with his wishes, which she did confirm for us. So tonight I am requesting the board's approval for us to accept this donation and put it to good use for the community at North Georgetown.
What was the amount?
It was approximately 15,000.
Do you have any ideas on how you want to use it, or haven't you gotten that far?
We do actually. Our PTO is in the middle of fundraising for some playground upgrades. We wanted to do something that would kind of honor his legacy and be impactful for the whole school community. So we're looking into a piece of equipment that we could put a plaque on with his name to kind of commemorate that donation to the school.
So this is a very generous donation from a community member. I think that speaks so well to our community and how we work well together, the district and the community. I was wondering, do we do something publicly? Like, will we put a public thank you in the paper or a newsletter to acknowledge this gift?
See, Mr. Mall is here, but I think he's done a nice job of capturing donations that we've received over the course of the last school year. So we would acknowledge in that way. Obviously, it sounds like you're going to highlight through the equipment, but certainly open to other ideas of how to highlight this very generous donation.
We do need to take action on to accept this, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the donation.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Please.
Thank you very
Pass
much.
on to the family, if you would, the appreciation I know from school, but also from Board of Education. and
Absolutely.
Administration.
All right, appreciate that.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dietrich.
5.06, 2026-27 district calendar.
Good evening. I'd like to ask Brown to come up with me, please. We've been very busy since the last board meeting. First, I want to thank Dave Mall, who created multiple versions of the calendar. We created a work group that included IREA leadership, building reps, Amanda Howard, Teacher of the Year, Dave Mall, and some admin reps. And we looked at multiple versions of the calendar. Ultimately, we narrowed it down to 2 versions. And then for the first time, we let our entire staff vote on it. We had 1,021 staff members vote, and overwhelmingly, with almost 94%, our staff liked calendar option 2, and this is the calendar option that's coming to the board tonight. I'll have just Blair say a couple words, and then I'll answer any questions from the board.
Yes, I really appreciated this opportunity to collaborate with everyone. We opened it up to our building reps and our members who are interested in joining the conversation. And it just really made sure that we were forming a calendar that not only honored our contract, but honored the work that we need to do as staff to make sure that we had the time we needed throughout the year. And really used our days in a meaningful way that it would make our working conditions better so that our learning conditions for our students could be better. So I think it went really smoothly, and I hope we'll continue in the future to keep working in this way.
And just before we talk about this year's calendar for next year, we're going to start earlier. People who were on this group get to be on the group next year because we did such a great job. And then we plan to take it to the staff for vote as well. Other districts do that. And we got a very positive response. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has about this calendar.
I don't have any questions, but I think that was awesome, collaborating and working together and taking the input from all of our employees. That job well done, guys.
It was a great experience, and we had fabulous ideas, and I think we have a really solid calendar for a very wonky year. So
I know it
That's
takes a
okay.
lot of extra time for all the people involved that were at work with this, and thank you so much for that. But I am a firm believer in collaboration, cooperation, and communication, the 3 Cs. And I do agree with everyone that this is a great example of that.
It was great. I want to thank, all the reps who took place, all the people who served on the committee, because I think we had great conversation and again, came up with a great calendar. So I would ask the board if there's, if they would take a vote on the calendar so we can make it official.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the calendar as proposed. Second.
I have a motion on the floor in a second. Do I have any discussion, any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5.07, the Indian River School District summer hours.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. As we've done the last several years, we are proposing summer hours. They are listed there for your review. Monday through Wednesday, 7 to 5 p.m. So those 10-hour days, as we've done in the past. Thursday would be 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Fridays would be closed. We would observe federal holidays and be closed on June 18th, 2026 for Juneteenth, and July 2nd in honor of July 4th. So those would be additional days there with a calendar adjustment. So again, happy to answer any questions. This has worked out well in previous years, and that would run from June 15th, 2026 through August 21, bring us back in time for our new and returning teachers to get back on a Monday through Friday schedule.
Questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the summer hours request. So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 5.08, tax relief request. And before we have discussed this previously, and I will entertain a motion if there is one.
So I guess it's, this is a request for tax relief on property taxes or for school board taxes. So I guess my concern would be that if we make an exception for this one case, we're open to making exceptions for everybody who's paying taxes. So that'd be my one concern before we go to a vote on this.
I believe it's only for the penalties and interest on
It is
the,
the interest only. But again, I'm not putting the motion on the floor. I would need a motion from somebody else.
Does the district earn the interest? I mean, not earn, but do they receive the interest funds?
It is my understanding that if this is accepted, we would not receive that interest. We would receive what is owed beyond that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not hearing a motion.
I'll make a motion that the interest be waived.
We have a motion on the floor. So I have a second. Motion is that the interest on this request would be waived. Any further discussion?
Well, and I think a point just need to be made so that the public as well knows it's not being detrimental to us at all. It just means that the penalty, and we've yet to understand why it comes back to the school board to make that decision as to whether or not they have to pay the penalty, but it has no bearing on us whatsoever. Whatever their total school tax was at the time of their bill is what they will still have to pay.
So who does the interest payment go to? If it doesn't go to us,
The county.
County.
just to the county.
Yeah. And if they pay, if the interest is paid along with, or if the interest is waived and they pay the remaining tax on it, then the school district would receive their portion of that tax. But the tax has to be paid in order for us to do that.
Okay.
So I have a motion. Do I have any further discussion? Motion on the floor is that we approve the waiver of the interest on the tax request. All those in favor of waiving that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Please poll the board.
Mrs. Briggs? No. Mr. Cathell?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Dr. Parsons?
Yes.
Mr. Peden?
No.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-2. Major majority. Okay, we'll move on. 5.09 Sussex Land Trust.
Yes, I believe this was discussed at our recent committee meeting. I was unable to attend that meeting. So I don't know if Dr. Parsons is sharing out and or Mr. Dooley, an update on that situation as was shared during Buildings and Grounds. Thank you.
Okay, so, yeah, I recently met with the representatives from the Sussex County Land Trust regarding the possibility of selling not the property itself, but only the development rights on the district-owned Ingram's Pond property. The land trust expressed interest in pursuing an appraisal of the land at no cost to the district if the district was open to having that discussion. At this point, I do not think we are in a place to make any decisions regarding selling development rights or determining future land use. For one, this property has significant market value potentially for future development. So selling development rights now would limit the district's ability to fully realize market value if we ever did choose to either develop it or sell it down the road. So that said, I do think getting a professional appraisal makes sense as a matter of due diligence, knowing what the value is of our property. We really should understand what we own, what it may be worth, and an appraisal would simply give us information and a better understanding of the asset. It would not commit the board to any future action. It would just be the appraisal. We also discussed the possibility of a wetlands evaluation, just to see, again, if there were wetlands on the property. But we had been informed that that cost would be over $35,000 to perform that. So given that cost, I would recommend holding off on the wetlands delineation for now until after we had the appraisal of the land and a better sense of whether there would be an interest in building a school there or preserving it in its current natural state, possibly with enhancements that were spoken about before, how to use that in its natural state. So if either of those become a real consideration on further use of the land, then a wetlands delineation could be done later to help guide that decision. But there could be much lower options for that study instead of the $35,000 from that private corporation, possibly even requesting the assistance of the University of Delaware that has environmental studies majors there. So that's where we are now with that. So I would recommend we go forward with an appraisal of the property.
And that's an appraisal of the full property, not just the non-buildable.
Correct.
I think the discussion at the meeting was, we really don't know what to do. We don't know what we have. And we really have to have a handle on what we have before we can really, as a board, make a decision. I'll entertain a motion that we proceed with getting a appraisal on that land.
And hopefully with that, it'll come the markings. And I know how, you know, how deeds go, give or take this, but I don't know if we incorporate that in it as well so that we, if we don't already, and I don't think we do, have permanent markers out there that we could establish them. So moving forward, no matter what we do, at least you would know from this corner to wherever it is, it's marked and has the district identification on there.
Mr. Dooley, help me here in this particular case. To get an appraisal of that property, that would require, I'm guessing, a survey.
I don't know. I was under the impression that the land trust was going to handle the appraisal. So I have a call right now out to a local commercial appraiser and I haven't spoken to him as yet. So I don't know what's involved in that.
I believe, Ms. Wright, unless I'm wrong, I could be. I'm not sure. But I think once when a property is surveyed, that's when they put the permanent markers in.
Right.
And generally they can put them above the ground, but definitely they put them under, so at least you can find them with a metal detector.
Correct.
But that may be something we want to take a look at as well.
Does the land trust reimburse or do they make the arrangements for the appraisal?
Yeah, they make the arrangements themselves and
Okay.
cover the cost.
We would have to pay for the survey.
So the wetlands assessment includes a property line survey. Because all a wetlands assessor does is go out and walk around and look for mottled soils and vegetation that indicates a wetland, and then places flags. So you always need a surveyor to go out to pick up those flag locations. As part of that, they pick up the existing property corners that are out. They do a deed research. So
But
that.
that's two different ones. A delineation for wetlands is one thing.
Right.
A total
Appraisal.
survey is
So I guess
for
I'm
permanent
confused.
markers.
We need a survey before we can move forward with an appraisal. Is that correct?
That I don't know. I don't know about a land appraisal. I don't have that information yet.
Because
Part
they
of the
need to know
wetlands
where
assessment,
it ends and where it starts and ends.
excuse me?
I would think they'd have to know where the boundaries are of the land before they could appraise it.
That should be public
That's
knowledge.
public knowledge.
Yeah.
And that would
It
be on
could
a
be,
plan.
but there again, just like you're saying, it needs to be markers that are put there. You can read a deed that says henceforth, whatever, so many degrees this way, that's fine and dandy, but unless you have something that's put there concrete, they would, and I believe, knowing when you do, have them done for yourself, have surveys done, they ask you for a copy of the deed, and then they go out there and using that deed, they take that machine and make those marks.
Yeah, I guess they could look and see what is on record, and if they need additional information, I think the appraisal company would let us know.
I think they would probably look at that property and comparable property, to compare them, to see where we would fall. Generally, that's the kind of appraisal that do if you go for, I think, a finance area. I think if I'm not wrong, I believe that's the way it is. That
They
would do that.
typically need 3 comparable properties. Yeah.
And that would at least give us an idea. And, probably the best place to start. If we want to do that, we can certainly, go forward to do that, but the land use company is willing to do the, assessed value of that property.
The land.
The
land.
Sussex Land Trust?
So my understanding is the land trust will pay for the appraisal.
Correct. If we feel that we're serious in selling development rights, then they'll move forward with that. And it's not something we're locked into. We could say, yes, we're considering selling development rights, move forward with them, and then we can evaluate that later and say, we want to move forward with it, or no, we do not.
So I guess we would be coordinating the appraisal. They would be paying for the appraisal. I don't know that, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong or right. I don't know that the appraisal requires a property line survey. During the property line survey is where they would determine what property corners are already out there. That's what the surveyors do. They find what's out there. If they can't find it, they let you know that. They do a deed research on that. Generally, there's old property corners out there. Those guys are pretty, man, I've done that work. They're pretty amazing at finding 50-year-old monuments that are covered in a foot of woods.
The ground pieces of
Yeah,
metal.
the name.
I guess we could reach out to Sussex Land Trust, because even if we do build a school there, a lot of it will be in its natural state. It might still be something that we want that to work with them. They mentioned, they would manage trails and other things like that, if that's currently what it's being used for. So, because you could set aside an area for forever that, you will not put in the trust that you can build a school there. So you could look at both, but if we wanted to just skip the land trust completely and just work independently and get our own appraisal regardless of them, that might be the cleanest option, just get an appraisal.
Can we get a cost on? I think we should get a cost on. I don't think it's going to be terribly expensive, to be quite honest, but I think we should at least see about pricing and appraisal costs for a property that size. And then we can move forward from there.
Okay, so,
So I'll redo my motion.
okay.
And I'll change that. I would entertain a motion that we obtain information on cost of the appraisal for the Ingram's Pond property.
I second that.
We have a motion. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Dooley. .10 Sussex Central High School change order notifications.
On your Google Docs for this agenda item, you will find 8 change orders, which are being presented as board notifications as they are below the dollar amounts outlined under the board's procedures for change order approval thresholds. I have reviewed each of these with Dr. Owens. All have been reviewed at the Buildings and Grounds Committee. Brad Cowan with RYJ is available tonight, standing right next to me to respond to any questions. Absent of any questions, we are requesting school board consideration at this time.
Sure, I have one question. There was a booster pump damage. So was there a warranty or any insurance coverage for that before the cost passed to the district on that?
We investigated that and it was a power surge within the building that fried that booster pump. So that's an item that wasn't covered under warranty.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have anybody make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the change orders.
You have a motion on the floor that we approve the change order. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Architect contribution for Sussex Central High School courtyard turf replacement. Reflexivity.
Thank you. Our architect team, Maureen and Carl, are joining us this evening. You've got 2 attachments there tonight for review, and these were also discussed at committee meeting. The first is a letter from the architects committing to assume the cost of the turf replacement for the academic courtyard. They can discuss that with the damage with the sun reflection. The second is a comprehensive response associated with the architects team's work to review that reflection issue that we've discussed for a few months now in the courtyard, as well as their recommendations and their rationale. So you do have those documents there if you weren't at committee meeting. But Carl, Maureen, thank you for joining us. Please share anything that I didn't or elaborate, and then probably have some questions from our board members.
Certainly, Mr. President and Board, thank you for having us here. Thank you for your patience in getting us to this point. The issues arose about a year ago, and the architect team, the contractor, several board members have and their committee have been working diligently to try to find a resolution to it. Like I said, it's been over a year since we started noticing the damage happened. It was replaced over the summer, has been performing well with the upgraded turf. And we had said previously that the architects would take some responsibility for the replacement of the academic turf. And we're coming forward, and it's in your documents, as Dr. Owen said, that we'll be assuming the cost of that replacement for the upgraded turf, which has been performing well throughout that time since last summer. And Maureen's going to talk more detail about our recommendation for the use of the space.
So again, thank you again for your time and your patience through this. I know it's been, several months. And during that time, our team has been evaluating the conditions and, want to share with you our recommendations this evening. As we noted, there is an 8-page document that you have. We won't go through that level of detail. We did go through it in more detail at the last Buildings and Grounds. So I'm just going to do more of a high level summary this evening. As Carl said, we have made a commitment to pay for the turf replacement in the academic courtyard. That replacement, since it has been installed, has been performing well. The courtyard gets daily use, very heavy use throughout the days, weeks, months since that replacement. Just noting that the courtyard itself does have natural shade from the building throughout the day as well. But as we are looking at what we've done over the past several months with evaluating the temperatures and the conditions of the courtyard, we don't feel any additional testing is is needed. We've got the data that's needed. We do feel the space is safe. It has been utilized, it's been functional. It continues to be, and, you know, again, we feel that it is a safe space for the students. Our recommendation moving forward is, you know, kind of revisiting some additional furniture and umbrellas. This is something that we had talked about earlier in the design, and a good, probably 2/3 of that furniture for the courtyard was kind of value engineered out for that time, because it was determined to use the space, see how it was, you know, really being, what kind of functions it needed. There was even some consideration of students building planters, et cetera. So our recommendation is to revisit that and to, for just the flexibility of the space overall, consider adding tables and umbrellas that can further enhance the comfort of the space and its use. So we open up for any questions that you may have.
Discussion or any questions?
So the replacement is just the turf itself. When we're talking about equipment, pick the tables and all that, that's not included in this cost right here.
Correct. Yep.
I think we're gonna take a look at two separate votes on this issue. The first vote would be to accept the upgraded turf that the architects have said that they would pay for. The second vote would be on the recommendation on what we should do to enhance the replaced turf for safety. So vote one. And I guess I can put this motion. I will entertain a motion that we accept the replacement turf, knowing that we have been told from them that it is safe. We have that recorded in a letter. And move forward with replacement and keeping that turf as is, with them purchasing that for us to replace it.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I just want to say thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Second vote on this matter would be the recommendation that they have made that the use of umbrellas and some of the furniture equipment that we were going to use out there that was originally, I believe, in one of the previous plans, that we move forward with that as well.
How much does it cost to bring back those value engineered items?
We're still working through pricing there. It really depends, because there's a couple different options to look at. But I think it would be somewhere in the range of 25,000 to 30,000, depending again, how many you want to add back. At one point we had, again, the whole area filled. You still don't necessarily want to fill the whole area because you want to get use of that turf space. So it will vary, but it's not overall on the overall furniture budget and what it actually was at the time when we were considering it. I think we were closer to $100,000 of furniture in that space. So it would still be considerably less than what we originally looked at and then value engineered out. That makes sense.
And we do have contingency funding that would support that. We've got the alternate list we're looking at. And that would certainly be a good use of those funds to go back to what we had originally wanted, not to the 100,000 mark, but certainly to make it comfortable in that area.
So before we do that and make a motion on that, can we get that information before we act on it to say it so that we got a concrete figure?
That's up to you.
I mean, is that what?
That's, if we don't know the actual costs right now, we probably should do it that way.
I think it would be important for Dr. Carter and the administration and staff there to kind of map out how they would like to utilize the space and then plan the furniture around that utilization plan.
Right, and we have pursued that. We have
Okay,
prepared some
that.
plans, and there's some renderings that preliminary we've shown. So it's ready and it's in that range. And if we could agree that that was the range to stick with,
right?
If we could.
So you
include
have that
motion.
information?
We don't have it to present today.
Okay.
But we've been working in the committee to over the past couple months to show options for that. So, but it's not been formally selected. It is in that range. We did get some of the updated pricing.
Will this be available at the May committee meeting?
Yes.
That way we could bring it back in May and we could vote on the second part of this option.
That would be perfect.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Julie? 5.12, the Artesian Water, Howard T. Ennis, utility easement request.
On your Google Docs for this agenda item, you will find a utility easement which is being requested by Artesian Water. This easement allows for the water main extension along Patriots Way in front of the Howard T. Ennis School. This extension has been the long-term plan for years now, and it benefits Ennis and the Sussex Central Schools with water pressure and capacity and satisfies the State Fire Marshal's approval of the potable water system for our schools. Consideration of the easement, of this easement, was tabled during the last board meeting with a request to investigate additional compensation from Artesian Water. We have subsequently negotiated a $5 per linear foot compensation, which nets out to $5,045, which is included on the revised draft easement. The revised easement request has been presented at the Buildings and Grounds Committee. We are requesting consideration for approval by the school board at this time.
So from last meeting to this meeting, because we reevaluated this, I think we have a thank you out to our school board member, Mrs. Anita West Warner, who just made us $5,000 by asking this question.
Yep.
So that was a great question. So you just need a motion to accept.
Need a motion to.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
With this. Okay, I have a motion that we accept the offer from Artesian Water and move forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 5.13, annual facility assessment and maintenance plans.
On your Google Docs for this agenda item, you will find the individual facility assessments for each school and the district repair and maintenance plan. Per the Department of Education and state regs, each district is required annually to prepare and submit school board approved facility assessments and a repair and maintenance plan to the state by May 1st. The assessments are completed on the state's approved form. The repair and maintenance plan flows like a financial P&L, showing revenues versus expenses over the required 3-year time frame. These documents were reviewed at the recent Buildings and Grounds Committee meetings, as we have done the last 2 years since the inception of this program. We are requesting consideration from the school board at this time.
Mr. Dooley, who prepares all of those plans? How are they put together? Because it was quite impressive what I was looking at.
Yeah, it's a large team effort. I work on it. Steve DiGirolamo, our specialist, works on it. All the building chiefs work on it, and most of our maintenance techs work on it. Plus, we had a couple consultant engineers worked on it the year one. Year one is the big push. So now, like other districts, every year we're pulling them out and we're rechecking numbers and we're finding some things that, because it's long. So we're finding some things that were maybe not as accurate as they should have been. So yeah, it's a big effort.
It was quite a task. Thank
Well, I
you for
appreciate
that hard
that
work.
acknowledgement. I'll pass that on to the team.
Okay, do I have a motion? I'll put it this way. I'll entertain a motion that we approve the annual facility assessments and maintenance plans to be sent to Dover at this particular time. That's the motion.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay, I have a motion to accept. Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. That's
I
a
did-
lot of data. Mr.
I did neglect to not mention, so I mean, obviously, Dr. Owens always looks at these things, but our finance department also helped with the repair and maintenance plan as well. So
That's a lot of work when it's. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm surprised how many of our schools are almost 100 years old and in pretty good condition considering their age. It's been a lot of careful maintenance.
they don't build them like they used to.
they
That's
don't.
true.
Okay, we're going to move along now to 5.13. Excuse me, I'm sorry, 5.14, the Indian River School District Staff Survey, and I'll first go to Ms. Taylor.
Okay. As everyone knows, we've been working hard on surveying the staff first, and then we moved to the administration. And we have a PowerPoint for you tonight that fills in another puzzle piece of the information gathering that we are attempting to do between Mr. Neal and, of course, our board president, Mr. Steele, and I. We have been busy at collecting data. So tonight we're going to share with you a series of slides that will be looking at the administration results of the survey that was given to them. We go to the second slide. You can see that 2 surveys were distributed, one for school level administrators and another for district level administrators. At the school level, the administrator responses were 26. The district level administrator responses were 10. And now we will go through the first survey, which was the school level administrator survey. And we will have the results of that with the first question Mr. Neal will take, and then we'll move to Mr. Steele, and then I'll take the third. And we'll just keep going through that rotation. Okay, Mr. Neal?
Right, so how satisfied are you with the overall quality of your school? That's the first question. You can see the majority of the responses are in the 3 to 5 range. Majority response number 4. Read the page of the overall sentiment. So the overall sentiment is strongly positive with clear pride in school, staff, school culture, and innovation, alongside consistent recognition. There's still room for growth and improvement.
Question number 2.
Actually, Mrs. Taylor, can I just ask one question? What was the percentage of participation? Like you mentioned, how many administrators responded? Out of how many?
So out of 26 school level administrators, I'd have to refer to Dr. Owens on the total number of principals and assistant principals. So I know there's.
I was just wondering what the percentage was, like, was it 50% or?
I'll do some quick math here. Give me.
Okay, we'll get back to it.
Okay, going to question number 2. How satisfied are you with the overall quality of your district? The average was a 4.1. You'll notice that most of the responses were at level 4. The overall sentiment mixed with appreciation for strong leadership, support, instructional efforts, but significant concerns about organization, communication, financial challenges, and equity.
Okay, my school has high expectations for student learning. The average was 4.4, rather on the high end. And the overall sentiment was generally positive, with a strong belief that high expectations for students exist, but with inconsistency in implementation and challenges that sometimes lower rigor.
The next question. Teacher performance appraisals effectively improve teacher instructional skills. The average was 3.7. The response was teacher performance appraisals. What's it? Generally positive about the evaluation system and its potential to improve instruction, but with concerns about consistency, time demands, and overall effectiveness in practice.
Next question. My school environment is safe and secure. The average of 4.3. And you'll notice there that the 2 upper graphs, 4 and 5 on the 5-point scale, were the highest. Generally positive regarding building security and safety measures, with strong appreciation for safety personnel, paired with ongoing concerns about student behavior and internal safety challenges.
The current code of conduct and state and local policies allow administrators to effectively manage student behavior. As you can see, the average was 3.3, kind of all over the board. The overall sentiment mixed. While discipline systems and policies are generally seen as fair and structured, there are significant concerns about limitations in addressing severe behaviors, especially among high needs students. And this is very consistent with the staff survey and also with hearing from our Teacher of the Year this evening.
Next question. My school effectively engages parents and guardians in all academic and discipline matters. The average on this one was 4.1. The overall sentiment, mixed but generally positive. Schools are making strong efforts to communicate and engage families, but face persistent challenges in achieving consistent and meaningful parent involvement.
Next question. My building has the necessary support to reinforce positive behaviors. Average 3.7. Overall sentiment generally positive with strong efforts to improve PBIS and school culture, but concerns about sustainability, staffing, and resource limitations.
I feel supported by district leadership in decision-making processes. Average 3.8. Overall sentiment, generally positive, with many administrators feeling supported by district leadership, especially specific individuals, while noting inconsistencies across departments and opportunities to improve communication, alignment, and responsiveness.
The next item, my school climate is positive. The average is 4.1. No large band there. Item, response number 4. The overall sentiment, strongly positive, with many describing a supportive, family-like school climate, though tempered by staff fatigue, external challenges, and isolated negative factors.
The next question. The district climate is positive. Average 3.1. Overall sentiment predominantly negative with widespread concern about the district's financial situation, declining morale, and a lack of clear direction. Through some pockets of positivity and hope remains.
Current communication and support channels between district leadership and school administrators are effective. Average 3.8. Overall sentiment mixed. There is appreciation for accessible and supportive district leadership, but notable concerns about communication gaps, consistency, and staffing capacity at the district level.
Good. The next question, my district's communication with parents and stakeholders is effective. That average was 3.5. The overall sentiment was mixed. Communication has improved, especially through social media and outreach efforts, but there are ongoing concerns about effectiveness, reach, and strategic clarity.
The district's leadership is effective. Average 3.9. Overall sentiments mixed. There is respect for and confidence in the many district leaders. Concerns about capacity, consistency, planning, and overall effectiveness given current constraints.
I feel respected working in my district. Average 3.9. Overall sentiment mixed. Many feel respected within their schools and by colleagues, but there are broader concerns about declining respect from the community, compensation issues, and feeling undervalued in decision-making.
I have the resources needed to be an effective leader and establish trusting relationships with my staff. The average was 4. And the overall sentiment was largely concerned with strong dedication from administrators, but significant frustration around limited resources, staffing cuts, and lack of autonomy, impacting effectiveness and trust.
I'm satisfied with the professional development opportunities available to school administrators. Average of 3.3. Overall sentiments mixed. While there are some valuable professional development opportunities available, there's a strong desire for more consistent, targeted, and accessible learning, especially for administrators.
I have pride in my school, average 4.8. Overwhelmingly positive with a deep sense of pride, commitment, and personal connection to schools and communities.
All right, I have pride in my district. Average is 4.2. And the overall sentiment was mixed with strong personal pride in schools, teams, and the district's mission remains. But overall district level pride has declined due to recent challenges, particularly financial issues and leadership decisions.
I am always striving to improve my leadership skills, average 4.8. Overall sentiment strongly positive with a clear commitment to continuous growth and lifelong learning paired with a desire for more structured and relevant professional development opportunities. If you take a look at what we've looked at with the school administrators, you hear the same exact thing we heard with the staff. And we've heard that this evening. We talked among board members, and I can tell you, concerns lie with the climate in our buildings. Concerns lie with teacher burnout and the amount of time. But I'm going to say this, maybe controversial, don't really care. We have got to have the parents in our school district realize we have to have change. If we want to have better test scores, safer schools, they have to help as well. And that's going to be very important in the long run, that we involve them with any communications and any changes that we make. Teachers, we have to look at the workloads. Remember, 2 failed referendums last year resulted in a 10% reduction in teaching staff or staff, reduction in administrative staff, reduction in funding. So right now we're hurting, and we need to get back on track. Now you'll see some things tonight from our financial director. I think that'll help. And I think if we continue to move forward, I think we have light at the end of the tunnel, but we will as a board dictate that we are going to have changes next year. And these changes that we're going to look at may be a little rough the first year until the kids and parents and everybody in the district understands the parameters. But we are going to put that out to get people involved so that we can make positive changes. Now, the total results for this survey, when we take a look at the top 2 or 3 things that were identified by the school-based administrators, the number one, they got 12 votes, was improve and strengthen Tier 1 instruction and classroom engagement, support students with mental health and social emotional learning, and improve students' academic achievement. Now we're going to go into the district level administrators. Now, this does not involve our directors at this point. That survey will be conducted a little differently, and it'll be an in-person survey with Mr. Neal, Ms. Taylor, and myself. That we should report out at the May board meeting. And finally, we will do a parent survey in May that should give us all the results that we need. The administrative district survey, I believe we had 10 people with that.
That could be about right for the amount of districts.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we had about 7.
We have 8 and I didn't take it. So 3 other administrators took the district one.
Okay.
We'll mix them.
And Dr. Parsons, there are 39 by my calculations, so I think I'm pretty accurate there, school level administrators. So based on the respondents, it looked to be about 26 to 25 per question. About 40 total.
Oh, so 20, okay.
That's principals and assistant principals. Based on what I'm seeing here in the graphs, about 26 people consistently responded to each question.
Over 50%, so about 50%.
Yeah, a little bit over, probably about 65.
Okay.
Yep. I'll go ahead and take question 1, and then we'll continue, Ms. Taylor and then Mr. Neal. How satisfied are you with the overall quality of your district? 3.4. The overall sentiment's mixed, but leaning negatively. While there's a clear pride in the district's integrity and some strength in student support, most of the feedback centers on concerns such as leadership gaps, lack of collaboration, declining morale, and instructional weakness at the Tier 1 level. These issues outweigh the positive remarks, giving the overall tone more critical than favorable.
Okay, the next, the quality of teaching and learning in our district schools meets my expectations. The average on that one was 3.8. And the overall sentiment was mixed, slightly positive. There are clear concerns about instructional quality, a perceived shift toward adult-centered decision-making, and the need for more professional development and diversity in perspectives. However, these are balanced by recognition of ongoing improvement efforts, support for school-level leadership, and confidence that the district is moving in the right direction.
My district has high expectations for student learning, 4.0. Overall sentiment, moderatively positive, highlighting strong expectations, resources, and academic opportunities, but it is tempered by concerns about inconsistent accountability and uneven implementation across staff.
My district environment is safe and secure, average 4.0. Overall sentiment generally positive, with staff expressing that safety is a clear priority, and that measures like constables and SROs are effective and reassuring. However, this is balanced by concerns about school culture, including a perceived disconnect, fear of retaliation for differing opinions, and the need to shift from punitive approaches toward more supportive practices that promote student well-being and staff development.
The current communication channels between district leadership and the school board are effective. The average was 3.3. The overall sentiment there is positive, with staff generally feeling well-informed and supported by district leadership and the board, and appreciating their visibility and approachability. However, there are some concerns about clarity and consistency, particularly regarding communication between leadership and the board and opportunities for more collaboration.
My district's communication with parents and stakeholders is effective. Overall sentiment, mixed, but leans slightly positive, with recognition that the district makes efforts to engage families and respond to their needs. However, this is balanced by concerns about limited communication and lack of strong, authentic sense of community, suggesting that while structures exist, deeper and more consistent engagement is still needed.
Next question, the district school board is effective, rating of a 3.3. Overall sentiment somewhat positive, with many believing the board generally acts in the best interest of the district and is effective in supporting its needs. However, it's tempered by concerns about uneven visibility among board members and perceptions that personal agendas or individual school loyalties may sometimes interfere with the broader district-focused approach.
Okay, next question. I feel respected working in my district. The average there was 3.3. The overall sentiment was negative, with comments reflecting feelings of being undervalued, not respected, and not heard, along with concerns about a lack of mutual respect among staff.
I feel supported by the district school board in decision-making processes. Overall sentiment, positive, with individuals feeling supported by the board in their roles, though there is some desire for greater interaction and visibility to strengthen understanding and communication.
Next question, I have the resources needed to be an effective leader in my district. The average 3.0. Overall sentiments negative, with comments highlighting insufficient support for professional learning, limited funding and resources, and challenges in accessing guidance. There is also a sense that systems communication are lacking, making it hard for staff to perform their roles effectively and consistently.
I am satisfied with the professional development opportunities available to district level administrators. The average there was a 2.9. The overall sentiment is negative, with respondents indicating a lack of meaningful, relevant professional development within the district and a reliance on outside opportunities, suggesting a need for expansion and improvement in this area.
I have pride in my district, average 3.7. Overall sentiment mixed but leans negative, with one comment expressing pride and commitment to the district, while others reflect feelings of exclusion and concern that the focus is shifting away from students toward adult-centered priorities.
Next question, the district climate is positive, average 3.2. Overall sentiments negative, with respondents noting declining morale, increased stress, and concerns about the district climate not being positive for all. While there is some acknowledgement in the need for clearer strategy and alignment, financial pressures and a lack of sufficient support structures are seen as contributing factors to ongoing challenges. The top three from the district level administrators that we looked at: support students' mental health and social emotional learning was the top. Improve staff morale, collaboration, and engagement was second. And enhance school climate, our culture, climate, and student conduct. You'll be able to take a look at these online. We're going to put these surveys on like we did the staff survey. And in hearing what we went over this evening, like I said before, you're going to hear pretty consistent themes. We are right now working efficient number of staff, which is requiring a lot of stress on our employees. But we're going to make this better. And we're going to begin that once we get our final surveys completed. And we will set action plans that we want to put in action for next September. So there is a change coming. And it's going to be a matter of, how well it's going to be perceived. And we're going to stress on our end that we be very consistent in how we implement these plans. Questions? Okay, moving on. Old business, major capital planning, 6.01.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Substantial completion has been issued and punch list work is underway for the H wing of the new Sussex Central High School. Work continues on the performing arts entrance courtyard, with completion expected within the next 30 days. Our exterior site work items will also be completed very soon. Work on the ag and maintenance building is ongoing and should be completed next month. And our executive group continues to meet monthly to explore cost savings, construction alternates, and any project obstacles. Concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Owens. Committee report 7.01, building and grounds. Ms. Wright?
Yes, most of this we've already addressed earlier in the approvals and conversation, but we met on April 13th and we discussed the various projects that are going on within the district. The major one naturally still remains Sussex Central High School, with a hopefully completion date getting near the end. Mr. Cowan's not here now, but he assures us that it won't be long that we're down to minor things that need to be taken care of now, and then final punch list will be done. The change orders were already approved earlier. We had the discussion with the courtyard turf and the reflection, and they presented to us much of the same as what was presented here tonight. We went through the work orders, which is a report for any issue that is given to buildings and grounds during the course of the month that needs worked on. The approval was done tonight for the artesian water easement. Dr. Parsons discussed with us about the Sussex County Land Trust for Ingram's Pond. And we also reviewed the annual facility assessment and maintenance plan, which was also approved tonight. Our meeting adjourned at 6:07, and our next one will be held on May the 11th at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. 7.02 comprehensive school safety, Mr. Capel.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Mr. Parker, can I get you to come up to the podium? So last Tuesday, Mr. Parker, Dr. Jones, and myself had the opportunity to meet, kind of talk about the budget for safety and security. Had a really productive meeting. Mr. Parker's initial numbers for what he thinks we're going to have remaining balance for 2026 is 315,136.05. And his anticipated balance for 2027 is 386,840.91. So we have some money to play with, and everyone knows we have to use that money towards school safety. It can't be used for anything else. So we discussed some ideas, and before I get into some of those, if anyone has anything, any good ideas they think we could use this for, please feel free to reach out to us. That includes building administrators, employees. If you have some ideas, I mean, we're willing to listen. So some of the things we talked about, vape detectors, adding some of these to the middle schools. We can use Juul money for that, correct, Mr. Parker?
That is correct, yes.
And we have about $27,000 available for that.
That's correct, yes.
Do you know what the vape detectors run?
I do not have the cost of those.
Okay,
no.
I didn't have that written down.
Oh,
So I wasn't
Mr.
sure.
Mr. Mann has his hand up behind you.
Got a quote today for 2,200 with install, no recurring fees.
Okay. 2,200 if you didn't hear that.
Got it.
So that's something we may look to for the middle schools. Also may look to add additional weapons detection systems. Everyone knows we have those in the high schools now. Maybe look to add those to the middle schools. When we bought those units several years ago, they were about 23,000. I'm sure they've not gone down in price, so they'd be a little bit more than that. But definitely worth it, I think. Adding signage to and numbering to our doors and windows in case of a critical incident. We need to call in to help coordinate things. Here's a big one. We have 166 buses in the district. I think we own a few of them, but most of them are contracted. They are equipped with VHS cameras, correct?
For lack of a better term, yes. There's
pretty antiquated. So we're going to possibly look in the future to upgrading to like a more up-to-date camera digital system. They're about $3,500 a piece. Multiply that by times 166 buses, that comes out to $581,000. But don't panic, because there is some legislation on the table that the state may be looking to cover 90% of those costs. So obviously we're going to hold out and wait for that to hopefully happen. Obviously if it did, we could, 58,000, we could get all of our buses equipped with a better camera system. And I'd say if we're operating with VHS, that needs to probably happen at some point. We're going to kind of keep that monitored, and hopefully that's going to come to fruition. Anything else we had discussions that I missed?
Nope, those are all the items that I had listed on my
A
note.
really good meeting. And like I said, I'd welcome any feedback, any ideas anyone has, reach out to us and we'll certainly look into it. Okay. Last Monday, DOE put on a school safety tabletop leadership forum that was held at Sussex Central High School. Dr. Jones, several of our constables, many of our building principals, as well as myself, got to attend that. That was a very nice event. They did one in each county, and Central happened to be the school that got to host that one. And lastly, the young lady that spoke for student government talked about the prom promise. I had the opportunity to participate in that with the state police the other day. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to thank the Dyersburg Fire Department, coordinated that. Tremendous undertaking. Sussex EMS, the Delaware State Police. I mean, they had our fatal accident reconstruction team, helicopter, but just the joint collaboration was awesome. And I wanted to really thank Dyersburg for kind of spearheading that. That's all I have for now. Just one more thing. We're going to continue to always look to improve our safety, and that's not something we're ever going to let down. I feel like we're the leader in the state. We're going to continue to be that way. That's all. That concludes my report.
Questions?
No, I just want to really thank you for that report. Really thoughtful for both of you, looking at, ways to improve our school. I love the idea of updating our buses. I had no idea they were that antiquated.
I didn't either.
So, I mean, and with your experience as a state trooper, looking at all the angles like that, I think that's wonderful to look at the safety for our students. So thank you so much.
And there's a lot better options out there today that we certainly can look to those.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Thank you. Appreciate your time, sir.
7.03 Finance, Mr. Peden.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Dietrich presented a donation from the estate of Derek M. Reed Senior to North Georgetown Elementary in the amount of $15,441.34. The funds will be used to furnish the needs of North Georgetown Elementary students. Mr. Parker presented the spring student activity funding request with options to pay 90% or 100% of the requests. There are sufficient funds for either options with a 20% reserve, and this will be discussed later on in the board meeting. Mr. Parker reviewed the March 31st, 2026 financial position report. This report projects the state and local discrepancy fund balances at June 30th, 2026, based on the actual March 31st, 2026 balances with projected revenues and expenses for the period April 1st through June 30th. The revenue projections are based on the collections of the same time period last year. Depending on the funding source, the expense projections, and based on either the expenses for the same period last year or for the first half of the current fiscal year. The discretionary balances as of June 30th, 2026 are projected to be $17.5 million. Mr. Parker reviewed the March 31st, 2026 financial reports. And Mr. Parker also presented the strategic financial overview. The presentation included the financial status of district now and what it will look like over the next 4 years. Revenues include a conservative rate adjustment for increases on assessment values, and expenditures include increases based on salary steps and inflation. The presentation also included options for other items the district foresees as needs including teacher raises and repurposing the Millsboro Middle School. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Peden. 7.04 Curriculum, Mr. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. We met on Monday, April 13th, and the main topic of our meeting was secondary academic progress update presented by Dr. Jones. So STAR is used to monitor student progress in the secondary reading and math. And we've already had presentations early this year about elementary progress. So this one focuses on secondary. So keep in mind some of the things about STAR. It's a computer adaptive test design, rather. It's quickly administered to students to provide frequent progress monitoring, immediate results. Teachers can track students' growth and those kinds of things. So, and the information that's gleaned from STAR is used to make decisions about instruction. So based on the STAR data for reading, 1,982 out of 4,904 students are estimated to score at or above the proficiency level on the reading state test. That's sort of like a predictor kind of thing. If things pan out the way we want them to, it should at least be that much. So in addition to STAR, secondary schools are also doing Delaware Formative Interim Assessment Blocks, FIAB assessments for reading and math. And these assessments, they're targeted to standards and they're aligned with data. They are also focused, the short assessments that isolate 1 or 2 skills. They help educators decide quick actions that they can take to strengthen student skills. They can be easily administered, and they provide the teachers with real-time feedback. Just some of the highlights of those. The reading data show that students are making positive progress in reading, but the patterns across both the IABs and STAR also point to a clear instructional need. Students are building foundational comprehension skills, but they still need support with deeper analysis, central idea and theme, and explaining how ideas develop across the text. So those are some of the big ideas that were gleaned from this. So some of the next steps that were discussed that are being looked at the middle school level, they're going to be working on supporting students to use skills to determine theme, central idea, explaining development of ideas, analyzing structure and author's choices, justifying their thinking with strong reasoning. Those are some of the things that suggested that those middle school level educators work on. At the high school level, the focus on reading stamina, comprehension of complex informational and literary text, text-based writing, academic vocabulary, and analytical reading in content areas. Monumental task, but our staff is up to the challenge. STAR math data was also shared for each secondary school and by grade level. District-wide and school-based PLCs discuss this data in areas for need at grade level meetings. Analysis of student data allows teachers to make informed instructional decisions to meet students' needs. And so we were given like a list of topics, instructional topics, priorities at each grade level. For example, 6th grade, they need to work on ratios and proportional relationships. 7th grade, expressions and equations. 8th grade, same thing, expressions and equations. 9th grade, seeing structures and expressions and creating equations and equalities. 10th grade, expressing geometric properties with equations, measurement and dimension, and congruence using coordinates. So overall, these are some of the things that were discussed as far as next steps moving forward. So this data is going to be used and discussed in PLCs, helping teachers plan and deliver appropriate instruction. They'll also be used to strengthen instructional priorities, by helping teachers focus on clear standards, aligned expectations in reading and math. That's a high priority throughout the district. Another important idea is to strengthen Tier 1 instruction. That's the instruction provided in every homeroom classroom. And that's being done through walkthroughs and feedback that's provided to teachers. Our district's always been great at building teacher capacity through professional learning, and that will continue. And then strengthening intervention systems, MTSS, with clear data-driven, skill-specific supports, improving collaborative opportunities for students, and ensuring the use of district scope and sequence. These are some of the things that our leadership teams will be focusing on to help move student performance forward. That concludes my report. I will next meet on Monday, May 11th.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. 7.05.
So I have some comments about that. So one, thank you. That was an extensive report with a lot of great suggestions. Sounds like the teachers are really geared towards improving our proficiency with a lot of really clear-cut, detailed plans, which is fantastic. This is our reason for being here. So one thing you said, the STAR and the IAB, kind of they correlate, that our projected proficiency in reading math only 40%. So 60% are not going to be proficient. So current Delaware state law is that we're recommended to retain students if they don't become proficient. But I don't even know if we're doing that. Are there any, this is for you, Dr. Owens, do we have any statistics or records? Do we retain students in the district at the 3rd grade level for not meeting standards, other than certain exemptions, which I understand we give as well?
We put a lot of weight in our teachers' consideration of that, both what they score on a standardized test, but also their classrooms assessments and their report cards. So yes, students are retained at those levels as well as the secondary level. I know our middle schools are looking at students. We don't want to push them forward if they're not ready to move forward. However, we also need to be aware of the age appropriateness of keeping students that maybe have already been retained in a previous year. We don't want to keep them in an area that they've aged out of as well.
Right.
So to that point, this data helps us to drive discussions through that. You'll see that MTSS, that multi-tiered systems of support, those teams get together, analyze the data that we are receiving, both from formatives in the classroom, but those interim assessments as well. And we develop interventions for our students. So hopefully at this point, we're at 40%. We're addressing the needs of those 60% of the students to try to get them to that proficient level. So our hope is that by developing those plans by the end of the year, many more are at that proficient level.
Do we report that? Do we have any numbers on our retention rates per grade? Is it just one grade that we retain, or could it be any
It
grade?
could be, yes, it could be any grade, and we do keep that data.
Okay. Is that possible to get that information?
Yeah, I think that the timing of that would be after the close of this year, maybe moving
Right.
into the summer to help inform the board of how many students have been retained, and we can do that by grade level.
Sure. In the meantime, could we get last year's numbers to just start
I'll work
looking at
on
that? Thank you.
Any other questions? 7.05, DSBA Board of Directors, Ms. Klein.
There was no meeting in April. The next meeting is May 6th.
Thank you. DSBA Legislative, Ms. Briggs.
Yes, we met back on Wednesday, April 22nd. We had a really good showing, about 16 to 18 representatives. The legislative issues that Mr. Toll, we reviewed the previous bills that were previously authorized legislative positions from the last committee meeting. So we went through and reviewed all of those, and we decided to remain with our previous positions. We then went into reviewing the new House bills for the committee. It was 13 bills in total. We had HB 300, which we had an opposition position, HB 309, which we supported, HB 312, which was a supported position, HB 313, which was also a supported position, HB 314 was a neutral position, HB 330 was tabled, HB 331 we supported, House Bill 347 was an opposition position, House Bill 349 we gave a supportive position, House Bill 350 an opposition position, House Bill 358 we tabled, House Bill 361 we tabled, and on HCR 156, no position was taken. It's pretty much an FYI for us. And then, Mr. Toll, we reviewed the Senate bills for the 153rd, which there were 7 bills in total. Senate Bill 246, which is a supported position. Senate Bill 253, which is a supported position. Senate Bill 260 was a supported position. Senate Bill 272 was opposition position. Senate Bill 273, we supported. Senate Bill 277 was an opposition position. And final was Senate Bill 279, which we tabled. We then went into old business, Mr. Toll, which was the updated on school board elections, provided an update on the upcoming elections in May. They're coming up. It's Tuesday, May 12th. There's 34 seats open for election this year, 10 seats in Sussex County, 11 in Kemp, 13 seats in Newcastle. As of April 22nd, there were 8 districts that did not need an election because there was only one candidate that filed for an open seat. All seats are open 4-year terms, except for 2 seats this year. One seat in Christina is a 3-year term and one in Colonial is a 2-year term. There are 19 school districts in Delaware, 16 public school districts, 3 VOTEC. It was stated 15 public school districts this year have an open seat on their board, with Indian River not having an open seat this year. And VOTEC school boards, of course, are appointed by the state referendum updates. He referred to the committee. There was 2 districts that had a referendum in February. Both districts wanted to levy additional operating taxes. Caesar Rodney had a referendum on the 9th of February. Laurel had a referendum also on the 9th of February. Mr. Tall reported that Caesar Rodney had a positive outcome with their referendum, but the Laurel School District did not pass. Congratulations to Caesar Rodney. There's no other new referendums at this time. New business, it was discussed about the National School Board Association Conference in San Antonio, Texas. That was April 10th through the 12th in Texas. Quite a few members from Delaware showed up. There was 45 people attending from Delaware from the other districts. Delaware had 3 presenter groups at this convention this year, which was really good. Seaford School District, Polytech, and Caesar Rodney. The next conference is going to be scheduled to be in Washington, D.C., and that will be on April 2nd through to 4th in 2027. We had our superintendent representative, Dr. Kevin Carson. He engaged in conversation during the meeting, adding superintendent perspective throughout. And he also mentioned to the committee to be ready for more bills as we approach June. Dr. Carson mentioned the bond hearings will be starting soon. He gave some updates on SB 272, and they said the chiefs will be working and discussing the bill with Senator Walsh. We commended Dr. Carson and, of course, all the superintendents for their continued partnership and support and dedication to the School Board Association. Let's see. He discussed about the PEFC updates, which is the Public Education Funding Commission, and their meeting is tonight from 4:30 to 6:30. That was going to be held at Legislative Hall, so that has since concluded. Our meeting adjourned at 8:37. It was very well attended. Our next meeting is going to be on Wednesday, May 27th in Dover.
Hey, Mrs. Briggs, thank you for that report. That is a lot of bills.
Well, there's a lot more coming.
Dismayed to hear that there's more coming. Would you be able to I know you can't do it now, but upload that to the docs so we can see what bills they are? Kind of lost track writing them down. Would that be possible?
I could send that to you. I mean, to be able to look the bill.
Or email it.
Later, .gov, and it'll explain now in full.
Yeah, because you have like the position that they take, support or not. So I think that would be great to see. I don't know if that's something that can be included. I think you mentioned that maybe last time.
Yeah, so when I receive from the state level, I've shared that out. I know I shared that a week or 2 ago when I had it. There's another one that I got today. But I would not have the position of DSBA.
No.
But if you want to share anything with me, I can certainly push it out to the.
That way you can put it in superintendents. Okay, that's fine. That'll work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving along, 7.07, Mr. Neal, Special Education.
No report.
7.08, Ms. Taylor, Policy.
Okay, I want to first thank Dr. Jones, who stepped out for covering for me. I was unable to attend the policy committee meeting, but according to the minutes, under second readings, there were no further changes or edits that were requested for the following policies. BD, school board meetings, BF, board policy development, JEDB, student dismissal precautions, KH.1, use of online donation accounts. And board action will be needed this evening on those policies. Would you like to stop?
I'll do it right now. I'll entertain a motion that we approve these 4 second reading policies.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Under policies under review, no further changes or edits were requested for the following policies. GDP, support staff termination of employee, and JG.4, suicide prevention. They will move to our next board meeting. No changes or edits were requested for the following policies. They were reviewed only. BDDE Rules of Order, JN Student Fees, IKF.1 Dual Credit Enrollment. The meeting adjourned at 4:12, and our next meeting is May 11th to begin at 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
You're welcome.
7.09, Futures Committee.
Just briefly, we did meet with a smaller group of administrators and a couple board members here a couple weeks ago to just try to fine tune what has been discussed over several Futures Committee meetings for the use of this building. I can share that I want to thank Mr. Dooley and Mr. Parker for their work with YMCA. That is moving along. They will be here for summer school, and then Mr. Dooley's working with getting some inspections taken care of, but in terms of the MOU and the fee structure, Mr. Parker is working to finalize that now. Again, there are items on the table for options for this building moving forward. And as we've previously shared, the population has plateaued, it appears, over the last several years. So while we could utilize the building for an elementary school to funnel off of our existing elementary schools, again, that is going to be an additional cost to us. Mr. Parker is going to share that a little bit with his plan. Also, we have discussed previously the possibility of shifting SDSA, creating available space for the South. However, there's a cost to that as well. So where we discussed as we closed was a possible board workshop in the near future to bring all this data to the entire board, Futures Committee members included, so we could have an open dialogue about the path forward here.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. 7.10, Community Advisory Board.
I talked to Dr. Wisted. There is no update this evening, and I do not see any Community Advisory Board members here with us. So no report this evening.
7.11, REA Representative.
Good evening, Blair Catlin Brown, school social worker at Selbyville Middle and proud president of IREA. This time of year comes with two consistent threads to conversations. One is next week's Teacher Appreciation Week and all the fun events that are going to be around that. And also, this is the time of year where we hear about our members' greatest stresses, which you've already heard tonight, is dominated increasingly by the violent, destructive, and disruptive behavior in our classrooms and school buildings. In order to show our education staff your appreciation, we ask that each member of the board take a moment next week to speak directly to staff who is currently being impacted by these behavioral concerns. While we encourage staff to come to these meetings and provide comments, that can be a hard sell for a variety of reasons, not least of which we are burnt out and we are exhausted. So coming to a meeting like this may not be on someone's radar. Ultimately, these one-on-one conversations with district leadership and board members is the basis for meaningful change because it will allow us to feel heard and to form a connection with you. So next week, while our staff always appreciates a kind email or donuts or coffee or a nice gift card, what we really crave is to feel heard and to form a connection with each of you. From administrative assistants to custodians, to constables, to paras, to related service providers, to our teachers, we all have stories to tell, and we are eager to tell them in the safety and comfort of conversations directly with each of you. Thank you in advance for taking time to form connections through conversations with our amazing education staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. 8.01, Superintendent's Report. Monthly activities.
I'll just highlight two things. We recently, this month, we had our Behavioral Health Professional of the Year. So I want to thank all of those that were recognized at our event. Thank you, board members that were able to attend. And a special congratulations to Nurse Parsons from Selbyville Middle School, who was selected as our District Behavioral Health Professional of the Year. Well deserved by Nurse Parsons. The other highlight, this is always a highlight every year, I'm able to attend the annual Secretary of Education Scholars Banquet held in Dover, where seniors from our two high schools are recognized for not only outstanding academic performance, but also service and dedication to their community. So from Indian River High School, Dylan Grice and Ella Peterson were recognized, and 3 students from Sussex Central High School. Derek Nick Garcia Morales, Maria Gutierrez Carciamo, and Garth Layfield each were recognized. So very nice ceremony, great dinner, and a good recognition on those students. I'm very proud of them.
8.02 district calendar changes.
All right, so a few changes. These are always highly listened to by our parents and our staff when we look for the end of the school year. So the first change is the last student day from June 11th through to June 5th. And as you know, we had some weather this year. We did accumulate some snow days. We actually accumulated one flood day. We recovered days through professional development. We also were able to utilize remote learning on 2 of our snow days. And the State Board of Ed forgave 2 days that were a state of emergency. So actually we have 5 built-in days. So actually we did not need to recover nearly as much as we thought we would have. So the request this evening is for consideration to back up from June 11th to the last student day on June 5th, and to change the last preschool day, June 10th to June 4th, the last classroom breakdown day, June 15th to June 9th, change the remote half-day grades, half-day workday, June 12th to 8th, and the last para day, June 11th to 5th, and the last Indian River High School and Sussex Central High School final exam days from June 10th and 11th to June 4th and June 5th. And all those dates are on the calendar and they align to the days that we need to be able to pull back. Happy to answer any questions, provide any data about specific days, etc. Those are our recommendations for the calendar to close out the year.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the calendar changes.
Moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Financial reports. Parker. 9.01 financial summaries for the month ending March 31st, 2026.
All right. The financial summaries, this report is as of March 31st. We are 75% of the way through our fiscal year. We've received 95% of our total budgeted revenue, 101% of our budgeted discretionary revenue, and 99% of our budgeted local tax revenue. We received approximately $237,000 in interest for the month, and our spend is on target with where we are throughout the year. Our total expenses being at 65% of the budget, and our total discretionary being at 70%. Our total spend for budgeted tuition funded classrooms at 61%, and our Howard T. Ennis spend at 75% of the budgeted expenses.
Any questions? Or entertain a motion that we approve the financial summaries for the month ending March 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 9.02 detail information.
All right, the next one there in your packet, or yes, in your packet. I'm sorry, I was confused with all the digital issues that we've had today. Student activity funding there, the balance is approximately 271,000, and we'll talk about that a little bit later tonight as well. Our federal funds available are at around 9 million, and our holding in our donations and student funds internal accounts total around 1.6 million.
Questions? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the detailed information for the month ending March 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
All right, the next
Capital improvement.
Sorry. The next packet there, yep, like Mr. Steele said, there's our major capital improvements. We have spent 1.1 million in the month of March. And our current balance there shows that we have about 1.5 million left, but again, that is a little bit behind time wise for POs and stuff that are going through. What we show in the construction meeting is closer to around 500,000 left that they can utilize, which we go over in that construction executive meeting.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the major capital improvement operations for the month ending March 31st.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Minor capital improvement.
All right, your final report for the month of March here tonight is our minor cap report. We have spent approximately $5.8 million year to date with around 1.6 million left remaining in that fund for the fiscal year.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minor cap improvement operations for the month ending March 31st.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Student activity funding, spring of 2026.
All right, this is the fun one. This is when we get to give out some money to the kids' organizations here directly. So we have if you recall, we have part of our property tax revenue is earmarked specifically for student activity funds. So when that comes in, it goes into its own account, and then twice a year, the advisors from those funds come and they request the use of those funds. So this spring, we had 27 different organizations come and ask funds. It was a great meeting. Again, I always love to hear what the kids are doing, what the advisors are doing. I got two options here just to give you guys options. What the total that they've asked for, and this has been updated. So the original request at the bottom there was 197,000. But either at the meeting or since the meeting has happened, we got some updates on some numbers from their original request, and 100% of what they want to fully fund would be 184,000. Now we have 271,000 as reported in the student activity fund balance as of 3/31. The next request of student activities will be next fall, so it would be next year's money. We'll have September tax money come in for that. So this money is really what the 271 is really to be used right now on this. If we maintain a 20% reserve, you can see there that would take 54,000 out of it. We'd have 217,000 available. So even funding this at 100%, we would still have an extra $33,000. The other option there is funding it at 90%. Again, just like I did last fall, I just gave that as an option based on the 10% reductions that we did in the schools.
So these are student requests, student-led requests for activities like leadership and enhancement of their studies. And you're saying if we fully fund it, we still have a reserve.
That's correct.
So what is the criteria for deciding, yes, we're going to try to fund this, or no, we're not, when they come to you?
Right. So there's lots of different requirements there. For the most part, we want to see that the student organization is doing its own fundraising. The purpose of this is saying, okay, organization, you've gone out, you've done your work, you've tried to get, as much funds from the community or what that you can, but you still want to take this trip or you need to buy this, whatever, and your fundraising just has come up a little bit short. So we're here as the Student Activity Fund to help you supplement that and help you along your way to be able to reward the kids for really their effort, to be honest, because some of these organizations, it's tougher to fundraise than others. Athletics, we don't allow in here because the athletics have their own budget. And quite honestly, the athletic boosters have no problem fundraising. They have quite a bit of donations in their accounts that they help with. So these are the organizations like the robotics organization, the business professional organization, one that you wouldn't necessarily see prominently, sort of out there unless you're really a parent or in tune with what's happening in all the schools.
So quite often this is a cushion
Correct.
to help those different organizations that are already trying to raise the funds.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And there can be a great deal of variance, for instance, where the competition, we have maybe 15 students from Indian River and Sussex Central that qualify for Business Professionals of America, the national conference. We don't know who's going to qualify until they qualify. And then one year it may be in DC and another year it may be out in Austin, Texas. So, and the fees obviously have gone up. So this provides the ability for us to fund those students to be able to do that, go to those competitions. And that scenario can be replicated across a few different organizations. So it is really nice, and the students are very appreciative of the ability to support that travel. That's one example.
And isn't the ask on the high side, some of the advisors expect maybe 15 students winning awards for travel when actually they might only be 7 or 6 that awards. So you only pay out what goes, and they're asking on the high side. So we may end up paying out less than those.
That is correct. Yeah. And that we've actually had that been the case even from the fall one. There was a couple where they asked for more, but when the bills actually come in, or they get the invoices or whatever, we just pay the actual amounts. They don't like pocket that money and hold on to it somewhere. It'll just stay in the fund. They just are very grateful to get anything, to be honest, a lot of times. So.
Well, seeing how many students we had from like the Business Association, robotics, the awards we gave, I mean, that was really impressive to see. And like you said, maybe not as out there in the public at fundraising. So I would love to see us continue to support these student activities. So I would like to make a motion that we fund this 100% as requested by the students.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor. Will us support this? We have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
I will thank you on behalf of all of them, and I thank you for myself, because I'm going to personally let some of these people know that they have gotten their 100% funding. They're going to be extremely grateful. So I'll get to be the one to enjoy your acceptance or your vote on this. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. 9.06 financial position report.
All right, I think we talked a little bit about this earlier. This is a report that we have to do once per quarter. So it was time again to do this would be our third quarter report. So it's January through March. And really it's through the end of the third quarter. So it's a year-to-date numbers. So we have to put on here what our income and expenses are for our most of our local funds through the end of March, and then project out what our income and expenses are going to be from April until June, letting the state know where we think we're going to end in our local funds at the end of June. If you recall, the one that I presented before at the end of the second quarter, we were going to end right around that $14-15 million mark, which is what we need to make it through the July to September timeline before we get our first tax payment to cover all our payroll and some of our expenses that happen there. So this one has gone up a little bit, a couple $1 million, and I can explain what that is. For the most part, everything has stayed the same as far as what we've spent and our projections. The difference in this one is that we were able to, we got more money, excuse me. Which one is that? Oh, we were able to cash in 100% of our academic excellence units this year because we had 2 failed referendums. So that equated to $2.2 million, which is most of the difference that you see there. And the other portion of that was in our not the Ed Sustainment Fund. Which fund was that? We had 383,000 come back to us. Oh, in the CSERP funds that we were not expecting. And that is the child Medicaid funding. Apparently, from the state's perspective, we qualified for more than what was originally budgeted or planned for. And so the combination of those two is what makes up the difference. So we're going to have just a little bit more cushion to help us to get to that September number this year. Just keep in mind that that is a one-time thing. That is not something that's guaranteed for next year. So we will not be including that in our budget when we go to do that for next year, but we're certainly grateful that we have it to help get us through the rest of this year.
So how tight does that leave us? So now we have this cushion, but not really. It gets us through the summer.
Yeah.
So anything left over?
Well, we'll talk about that in the next little presentation, but I would say not as much left as we need to, because if you look at the second page, you'll see that that 17 is spread out among all the funds. We're still going to have to borrow from some different funds to make up the local payroll. So it doesn't land in the true reserve line and make it as much as we would like for it to be there. We're still only going to anticipate having around 6.5 million there, and our payroll is going to be probably 11 to 12 million. So we'll have to borrow some of these other funds to make it to that September mark. So this requires an action from the board because this has to be then signed and sent to the state.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the financial position report for the month of spanning through this quarter.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimous. 9.07 district strategic financial planning.
All right, so after having done the financial position report for the report for the rest of this year, we needed to start looking at beyond just June 30th, beyond just 27, and start looking at if and when we need to go to referendum again. So as Mrs. Wright pointed out in our committee meeting, this is really referendum planning discussion that we're going to have. All right, so as we go through the slides here, we just dig into it. What does the future look like? So our projection before COVID and the Sussex Central High School was that our growth rate in units was about 2% per year, which meant we were going to need another elementary school within 5 years. So we built Sussex Central High School. We got that referendum. We got that construction project that's been built. So Millsboro Middle went to where the old Sussex Central High School was, and the Sussex Central High School moved into there. So that fixed all that and set us up for potential growth. But then after COVID, the growth has slowed. This model that we're looking at now is projecting a much more modest growth rate in units over the next 4 years. As Dr. Owens has said, it's sort of leveled off. There's still going to be some growth, but it's not at the 2% rate that we were growing before COVID. All right, on to the next one. So now we need to know, what do we need over the next 4 years? Well, the first thing we're going to need is step increases for the staff. Those are in the contracts. That's the biggest spend that we have is our personnel. And so those are definitely what is needed. The other cost increases in here include school budgets, the curriculum budget, the athletic budget, our HR and EPR funds, money for our substitutes, and district operations, which is where most of our utility money lives. Some other things that we're looking at over the next 4 years, as we've seen from several people who have said tonight and in our surveys, getting back to our full staff load. We also want to look at our competitive pay scale on the local side and see what we can possibly do there to stay competitive. What other needs do we have? Again, we're talking about this Millsboro Middle building that we have. What are we going to do with it? Whatever we do decide to do with it, there is inevitably will be some costs with that. We would like to get that reserve fund or true reserve fund built back up as well to have that. And then there's some in case of emergency, and then some other funds here that can probably just be combined with that other reserve fund. All right, so let's dig deeper into these and figure out what they mean. Our step increases. So our local payroll is about $1.6 million per pay, and annualized over a year, that's around $42 million. So I took everyone's position and figured out what the average step increase was per position, added that in, and we came up with a figure there that we're going to need around $7.9 million over the next 4 years to cover our step increases. Now, if you round up a little bit for some people who move horizontally on the scale, so people who get a higher degree, they move like let's say to the right on the scale, but then you also take into consideration people who are retiring, so we get some savings there. In general, I just rounded those all together to be around $8 million is what we're going to need for the step increases. For our other expenses, so our school budgets, again, we'd like to put those back at the 100% level, and that would be $482,000 additional we would need over the next 4 years. Our curriculum, there are new curriculum potentials out there and things that we're going to need to stay current with the regulations and the needs of our students to be, as educated as possible. That additional funding is going to be around 1.3 million over the next 4 years. On our athletic side, I just did a generic 3% increase across the board, and that's going to be 434,000 that we'll need over the next 4 years. For our HR and EPR line item, that actually goes down over the next 4 years. This is decreases due to the pilot program that we started this year, where if you were in a CTE position and you're required to be an advisor and put in additional hours, we were able to take those hours and put them into the base of people's salary so that the state would help us cover more of those. Our substitutes, we're going to need 1.1 million over the next 4 years for new laws taking place and the state taking away some of our funding. The new PFMLA law is causing or is allowing more folks to be able to be out to help with their family medical needs. But the more people that are out, the more substitutes we're going to have to supply for those people who are not in the classroom. And then the state's current budget bill that's being presented is taking away substitute funding there statewide. Our district operations, that's an additional 4 million we think we'll need over the next 4 years. That includes our charter and choice expense that we have. That's the state puts a 4% increase in that. And then I included a 3% increase in all the other items in that line item. So the total need for our other expenses there is 7.3 million. All right, let's talk about getting back to the quote unquote full staff. So in 2025, we riffed 85 people to get our teachers down 10% that we needed to get done. If we rehire back to 97%, that would add 60 people back to our staff. That would certainly help the needs that we talked about earlier tonight. In this model, we did it at a slow rate to match the referendum ask at the end that we'll see. So we took the average starting teacher rate with the master's plus 10 years and the OACs is around 33,000 on the local side. If you add in 20 per year for 3 years, that means it'll be about 660,000 per year or close to 3.9 million over the next 4 years. Our competitive pay scale, again, we put in a slow rate increase here to match what our referendum ask is going to be. And that is a 2% per year for 3 years. So totaling a little over 6%. This does take into account the step increases and getting back to the full staff. It would total around $5.5 million. So to recap what we need there, our step increases are going to cost us 8 million. The other costs are going to be around 7.3. Getting back to our full staff is going to be around 3.9. Keeping our pay scale competitive is around 5.5. So we need 24.7 million over the next 4 years to cover all those costs. Our additional needs, I'm sorry, say that?
For how many years?
4 years, over the next 4 years.
Yeah. I'll explain the difference. I probably keep saying 3 and 4 years. I'll explain that in just a minute. Millsboro, so our additional needs there, the Millsboro Middle, we put in 1.5 million. That's, I don't want to say a complete guess. It's an educated guess. We don't know what's going to be needed, what's going to happen with this building, if you're going to have to move things, if any improvements are going to have to be done. Any improvements have to be done if, for example, if SDSA were to move here or IREC were to move here, just the backfilling of that. Any possible needs that we might have to get either the building or the building that's being vacated ready for the next tenant, as it were, in that situation. Our true reserve fund there. So the 6 local payrolls at the $1.4 million is 9.7 million. We put in 6 payrolls because that's generally how much is between July and September. I'd really like 7 because there's going to be a few years where we do have an additional pay that falls in there, but for this model, I think if we can get 6, it would be certainly much more beneficial than what we have right now, right? Other emergencies around 500K. Those are just things that we literally have no idea what we could be coming our way. That could probably be a lot higher as well, but I think with our reserve fund, that's plenty for right now. So that gives our total additional needs around 11.7 million. So how much do we need to ask for then? So our total, our basic needs there was 24.7, our additional is 11.7. Our grand total we need to ask for now is 36.4 million over the next 4 years, additional to what we anticipate we're going to bring in. So now let's look at how we're going to get there. So our assessments in our school district have been averaging a growth rate of 3.4% annually over the last 10 years. And when we put this model together, originally at the finance committee meeting, I put a conservative estimate in the model of 3%. We had our CBOC meeting since then. And we have a couple members from the CBOC here tonight who are going, they're still here. They're still here. And so they're going to come up here and speak in a few minutes. But we also have a member of Sussex County on our CBOC. And so we were informed that our growth rate now is closer to 2% instead of 3%. The reason that is because the reassessment moved a lot of our equity, as it were, to the east. Whereas most of the building that is occurring is on the western side. So that means, so before reassessment, I could take any spot of our district, say 25%, 25% of our, I had a 25%, hand, I could grab 25% of our district anywhere, and I would be getting 25% of the value that we were going to get. Once the reassessment happened, now most of the value is sitting on the eastern side. I don't know the numbers exactly, but if you were to say most of the value of, it's say 75% of the value of the taxes that we're going to bring in are sitting along the coastline, that means only 25% of the taxes, are all on the western side, even if you split it 50-50. Well, all the building now is happening. We all see it on the west of the beach, as it were, right? So that means all that building now, the value, and those values actually went down when it comes to tax bills. A lot of people who live in the western side, the tax bill went down. So that means the building that happens there is no longer equally coming into us. It's as a percentage. So that's why we only anticipate now 2% coming in. So I changed this model since the finance committee meeting to only show a 2% growth rate, which you'll see as we go through here what the difference. I'll explain what that difference is if you were at the finance committee meeting. Do you have any questions about that before I move forward?
I just want to say this, just to make sure I'm sure. The 2% you obtain by talking to the tax office.
Yes.
And those are actual, figures. And I know you've adjusted it to be a little more, maybe a little larger than what it might have to be or what it may be, but they are numbers from the tax office, right? Not the finance office.
That's correct. So after the CBOC meeting, I actually reached out to the county and got an updated assessment as to where we are. And where we are right now is our growth has only been about 1.2% so far for the year. And we are 75% of the way through the year. Now, Ms. Jennings did share with me that a lot of the value does get added at the very end. So we'll see an escalation. That's not a number that we can, make linear. So based on what she said, based on what I saw from the county at the 1.2% as of for the year, 2% makes sense to me, which is what she said. So that's what I changed the model to be for right now.
So the reassessment really did not help us a whole lot, did it?
Not when it comes to growth, no. It did not. And what that means is if we don't do anything, or if we go to referendum and it fails, we will bring in an additional 9.4 million over the next 4 years, just based on the natural 2% growth rate of houses being built and people moving into them. So move on here. Our standard approach would be, assuming again that growth rate of 2%, if we took a one-time increase the current tax rate of say 23.3%, and I'll explain how I came to that number in just a few minutes. That would bring in an additional 47.5 million over the next 4 years. It would cost the average taxpayer $142 per year or $423 over the next 3 years. But let's look at something different, a new approach. Not really new, but new to us. If we assume, again, that same growth rate of 2%, and we ask for a gradual increase of 7.75% per year for 3 years, that would bring in a total of an additional 36.4 million in the next 4 years. It would cost the average taxpayer just $49 extra per year over that 3-year span. And over that 3-year span, it would cost them $302 in total over the 3 years. Now, again, at the Finance Committee meeting, because we had 3% growth, this number was a little bit lower. It was closer to a $35 per year range. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a minute. The next slide there shows the summary of the 3 different options: the options to do nothing, the options to increase our rate one time, and then the options to increase it per year. The following slide just shows a summary of that. How much do we need to ask for? 36.4 million. And then the slide after that then highlights the option to get that 36.4 million. That $50 per year would meet all the needs that we have outlined here this evening.
So what I'm going to hear from the people that the taxpayers in the area, the number that keeps coming up is how much does the district spend per pupil? So that's what they're going to be looking at. That's one of my questions. If we increase these increases, these step increases, which are mandatory in contract, but our students plateau. So I think right now I'm just thinking that means that the dollar amount per pupil is just going to continue to go up. And then I was wondering if you have that figure, how much we're spending per pupil, and then how that compares to other, not only districts in the state, but across the country, because that's something that's going to come up as well.
Yep, understood. That is a metric that we can get and we will have as we continue these further discussions. This is just a preliminary first draft of this. We don't want to wait till the last minute. We need to get this out, on the table for discussion. Because the thought is we're going to want to go to referendum probably next January, because it has to be, I believe that we have to have passed one before next June of 27, so that it can go into place in the taxes for September of 27.
So that, again, I think you're proposing a referendum of a 23% tax increase. No,
it would be, well, in total, it would be over 3 years. It would be 7.75 per year, which is where the 23.3 comes in at. You're right.
Okay. So, and you said we've never done that before, like
Spreading it out over
like
years.
that. And the tax increase would be not just for those years, but a permanent increase.
Correct. So it would be your bill at the end of the 3rd year would be $150 more than it was in year 1, and then that's where it would stay going forward.
So would it increase like $150 per year?
No, it would be $150 in year 3, more than it was in year 1.
Okay, so a little bit increase
Right.
over those.
So
3 years.
if the average taxpayer pays $750 now, at the end of the 3 years, their bill would be $900, and they would pay $900 every year going forward. And these are numbers that we can all play with. Since we got the 2% information, we can go back and look at some of these costs. We can try to drive this down some to get it closer to the number that we looked at the Finance Committee. And some of the things that you want to consider and think about are the different things that we talked about here. Like, the model we've built, we can adjust any of the numbers. Do we want to only add back 30 teachers instead of 60 teachers? Or do we want to do a raise of 1.5% versus 2%, or just the different items there? They can all be played with and buttons pushed to try to get our costs down as much as possible to if the goal is to get, you know, the ask from the taxpayer down from the $50 per year.
So from the beginning, I felt like we needed to do a more systematic approach to getting to where the goal was. And I think with human beings, in order to systematically kind of desensitize them from the, oh my gosh, you know, amount of money that the
Right.
district is asking, this new approach does that to get to the end goal of what we will need.
Right.
I think it would it be an easier swallow for people? And I think it's fair.
Right. Now, we do have two members of our Citizens Budget Oversight Committee here this evening who have some comments about this as well. So I'd like to introduce them and give them an opportunity to talk and answer questions as well. So Greg Linder and Scott Albrecht are here. They're going to come up and give their opinion.
Good evening, Mr. Steele, Dr. Owens, members of the board. As you said, my name is Scott Albrecht, and I'm pretty new to Sussex County. I was appointed to the Citizen Budget Oversight Committee in July of 2022. Prior to that, I lived in Virginia. I was elected 5 times to my local school board. Beyond that, I also served on the Virginia State School Board Association, our VSBA, for 9 years, ultimately serving as president. I only say that to say I can feel your pain. I appreciate the decisions you've made in the current budget year and how tough they are. And I understand education finance. So when Chris is presenting things, at least I can personally say we know where it's coming from. I think we could also all agree that this board cannot continue to have a balanced budget by continuing to cut. You can't cut out inflation. Some form of increase in operating revenue is needed before we begin negatively affecting student achievement. Your IRSD, your Indian River School System staff is focused on student achievement, and they did an excellent job developing and evaluating the options, and their recommendation is supported by the CBOC. But that really is meaningless, because ultimately the taxpayers will decide through their vote whether there will be an operating budget increase or not. What I'll personally say is hopefully a majority of taxpayers understand the need to educate children so they graduate to become productive members of our society instead of graduating the unemployment line. Let me now introduce Greg Linder, who's going to say a few more comments.
Chris was afraid we were going to leave since it got so late, but see, we stayed, Chris. So I was a school board member as well. I spent 8 years in the Pennsylvania schools system, Delaware, Chester County, Pennsylvania, as a school board member. I think I may have said this to you once before. The part of this I don't understand about what you do is that you do this without chocolate. We had unlimited chocolate that came to us to keep us going through these evenings. But the CBOC is a good process for the community where the issues around the budget and comments come from a wide variety of perspectives in order to get that input. And that's, I think, very helpful. As Scott said, we were supportive of the presentation. Having a referendum process driven for a shorter period of time and stepwise would seem likely to be more responsive to the type of referendum that the community would accept. The presentations also showed the losses in staff as a result of the failing last referendum and the dangers had this board not voted for the increase that you were allowed to do during the reassessment process. It was very clear from the numbers that Scott or that Chris talked about that that showed what the benefits were of what you did when you had the ability to raise the taxes with the last reassessment. It's responsible to show the growth, the 2% growth as part of the budget process. And as Chris said, having that board and the variety of views brought in that perspective that came from the tax office and the representative from Sussex County. Just a couple of comments of my own. One cannot predict how the General Assembly will act regarding referendum reform.
It's very possible that the Newcastle County ongoing assessment resolution will slow that referendum process down in the state legislature. A reminder that the last referendum only had 13% of the population that voted. It will require a larger effort to get out the votes to drive a successful referendum process. And hopefully it has the full board behind that referendum process, which I would think would be helpful for anything that was put in front of the community. One of the reasons that it's harder to pass a referendum in IRSD, in the Indian River School District, is that our population has changed dramatically over the past 10 years. Today, our median age in Indian River is 56 years old. The only one that's older than that is Cape. And the next oldest district is over a decade younger than our district. So when you think about what's there in the households, we have much fewer households that have the ability to have kids in it to come and vote on that referendum. Our average non-matched school tax bill, as you know, is approximately $600. And that does not include what seniors get back who participate in the property tax relief program. And that makes us the lowest of any district within the state, that $600 non-matched portion. And something that Scott brought up that I wanted to also reference is that it may be helpful if all school boards in Sussex County express support to the county council to pass legislation to impose impact fees that would support the capital expense portion of this throughout the county because of the continued growth that we happen to have within the county. So I appreciate being on this board, and it's helpful, and the work that is done in advance of the meetings and what's passed out by Chris before the meetings makes us have a very helpful conversation when we do meet. So thank you. You guys have a tough job.
Thank Greg and Scott for being here. And this concludes this presentation. Are there any questions or any other questions for either of our CBOC members?
Mr. Parker, have you got that donate button yet?
We're working on it. We're
Okay.
working on it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Thank you to Mr. Linder and Albrecht too for your volunteering.
Okay, moving along. Communications, 10.01, use of facility.
Yes, first is use of Lord Baltimore Elementary cafeteria, playground and parking lot, May 17th. And you can see there's a Sunday rain date there. That's for the Quiet Resorts, and that's for their community field day, which will benefit Special Olympics. That does require a board vote this evening.
I'll entertain a motion that we approve the use of facilities.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 10.02, field trip request.
Thank you for four field trips this evening for consideration. Indian Rivers Robotics, May 15th through the 18th to Fairmont, West Virginia. That's funded through Perkins, the Student Activities Fund, and fundraising. The second is Indian River High School's TSA to Washington, D.C. Again, Perkins fundraising and student activities will fund that. Overnight trip by Indian River High School's HOSA organization to Indianapolis, Indiana. That's Perkins. And finally, overnight trip by Sussex Central's HOSA, again to Indianapolis through Perkins. Those would require board action this evening.
Questions? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the field trip request.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 11.01 personnel agenda for April 27th, 2026. I'll entertain a motion that we approve 11.01, the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Personnel addendum 11.02. I'll entertain a motion that we approve the personnel addendum for April 22nd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. There is no contractual agenda for this month. 11.04. We do have a list of notification retirements. I think Ms. Bunning told us a little bit earlier, this is about 60, 65 people roughly, give or take. That's a very high number, and we would probably expect to see that number to stay that way, if not increase a little over the next few years. These folks give this district a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of hard work. So I appreciate everything that those folks on the retirement list have done.
11.04, I think we skipped.
Which one?
11.04.
Working on two different agendas, folks.
East Millsboro principal.
Let's go to 11.04, East Millsboro principal position. I will open the floor to a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the individual that was interviewed.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 11.05 was the notification of retirements. 11.06, we had a preliminary discussion on earlier on action to renew superintendent's contract. That's going to be tabled at this particular point in time. We'll revisit that next month. 12 going to student hearings. I'll need a motion for 12.01, student number 2694.
So moved.
Second.
I need the motion. I didn't entertain it.
I make a motion to accept the student hearing number 26-94.
Second.
The recommendation of the hearing officer.
With the recommendation from the hearing officer.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. 12.02, student number 26103.
Make a recommendation that we accept the hearing officer's recommendation.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. There is no 12.03 or 04. We're now at our second public session, 13.01.
None signed up. Does anyone wish to provide a public comment? Mr. Radotovich?
Rick Radotovich, I just want to make a comment on the referendum. We're all here about student outcomes. Everything we do is making sure our students are best prepared for this world. Right now, Delaware spends $23,000 per student. I know Dr. Parsons had asked for what are we spending here in Indian River, and I'm sure we'll get that number. However, our performance ranks 44th and 48th in math and reading. It's going to be a hard sell for the community to accept a referendum, especially at the relatively large percent increases, unless we see significant improvement in student outcomes. And I think that's an important aspect that everyone is kind of losing sight of. The referendum word is tossed around quite frequently. And to me, that's an admission of failure. We should be talking about student outcomes. And if we need more money because our student outcomes are improving, then it's probably more likely to happen. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone online, Mr. Mann?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Seal.
Hearing none, we'll go to 14.01. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Now adjourned.